Hey, first one here. Is that because you were already in Nodi's live? Hello. How are you all? Good to see you. If I miss it, let me know when Rose and Maybe get here. Maybe. Hi. All right. Sweet, good. Because today we're getting to a very long-awaited point in the book, aka you're playing for cats. So we're going to be hitting that today. So it's going to be a real fun time. Good. Maybe's here. Where's Rose? Is Rose in here? Where's Rose? Let me know when Rose gets here. Rose. Good. Okay. Two of you all did something. Maybe and Rose, didn't you? You did something? Yeah? Did you find somebody's wish list and get something? I bet you did. Well, he's very touched. So we're gonna have a little surprise today. One, you're gonna contact me and you're gonna give me a mailing address. Both of you. And you're gonna get a little gift. And now we're gonna take a little trip. You wanna come on a trip with me? Come on. We're gonna go on a little trip. Bear with me here. You okay?
Greetings.
Well, hold on. The option to flip my camera went away. The option to flip my camera went away. It was up here and now it's not. Hold on. All right. It won't let me flip the camera. It's not giving me the option. So you're going to do it like this.
They can't flip the camera. So I got a few things in the mail. They're being used to hold up my latest 3D print, which is the battle rifle from Halo 3. So thank you very much, whoever sent those out. There were names on them, and I forgot them already.
This is Maybe and Rose.
Thank you.
It's Maybe and Rose.
Maybe and Rose.
Yeah.
So this is my office, as you probably have guessed. I have my printer running. I'm printing up some things for the people that sent me these nice gifts, which I appreciate. Quick little look around of the office here, where everything works. Here we have old anime posters. Here is a rat cage. You can't see them because they're asleep. This is where I work and do all my things. I have many monitors. One of my computers is not even in here. Morgan was surprised that I hung these ships up as if they've never heard of somebody doing that. So they thought that was really cool. Rocket launcher up here. That's 3D printed too. I print many things just for the fun of it. Those can't really tell. It's really dark. There we go. The assault rifle from Halo 3, and I'll step out this way to see the entrance. One of the entrances. That's the bat from Paranoia Agent and Little Slugger's hat. I 3D printed this bat and it bent it. It's one of my first cosplays when the show was first airing was Little Slugger, and I decided to do it again. So I really appreciate the 3D filament. That lets me continue doing my little projects. I appreciate all the support you give to Morgan.
What's up?
And I appreciate the support that's kind of backwashing upon me. So I'm just swimming in your wake and gathering support. Thanks to everybody that keeps up with their work weekly, and thank you for any donations you get. Thank you very much. Have fun. Have a great reading.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's your short tour of Sarah's office. You have a question. All right, go ahead. Put you back in here. All right, you're now firmly affixed back in the ring light. I hope you enjoyed that short tour. How's my back? Oh, my back's good. I went to the chiropractor today, and I have one more visit. And he says he thinks he's going to discharge me because I'm doing good. Either that or he doesn't want to see me anymore. And I understand either. I'm highly impersonable. But I'm feeling better, so something's working. Yeah. Yeah, probably. You see the birds one day? Sure, one day. Not today. But yeah, sometime I'll get the birds up in here. Not this week. We could probably do it near the end of this month when we rearrange some things. We're rearranging this house. Sarah wants to build a bookcase. He also, I'm very surprised, did not do the bit from Futurama. He does that to everybody who comes in. He has a drawer with a bunch of wires in it, and he does the thing from the professor from Futurama, and he goes, and these are all the different lengths of wire I use. And I'm very surprised he did not do that. He normally does that. He did that to me. He also used to have a duct tape wall. I don't know what happened to the duct tape wall. He had a bunch of different reels of tape just on the wall. I don't know. Probably because I keep stealing it. I told him he needed to make the elbow appendages, but with all the different kinds of duct tape. Because that would be funny. He is holed up making gun replicas from Halo at the moment. So but yeah, he does stuff. Anyway, he wants to send you to something. So, as thank you, with the filament that you sent him. So he wants to make you a little gift, and I said that was cool, as long as you don't mind giving me a place to send it to. We're gonna send you a little gift. It's not like gonna be like huge or anything, but I figured you might like to have some cool Cero printed keychains of little cats. He likes to 3D print cat keychains that can stab people. So I think that's what he's gonna make. He makes those a lot, so good. Okay. Good. All right. Excellent. I gotta check there after this. He would love that, in all honesty. I'm good. How are you doing? Everybody filtering in. We got a lot to get through today. We're gonna have some fun, because if you didn't catch it earlier, we're hitting the plan for cats. So, and for your sake, I hope it's a better plan than they've got. But we're hitting on the cat episode, which is a long-awaited episode, and if you haven't sent me your plan for cats, it's too late now. So you can't. I mean, technically you still could, but I won't read them because you missed the due date. But Should be a fun time. Everybody got your smoothie? Yeah, Emmy, you okay? Did you say you burnt yourself? Plan for cats. T Galaxies already has probably a great plan for cats, I'm sure. Green smoothie. Sweet. I got 2 liquids. I'm drinking out of both of them. It's going to make for a weird combination later. I got tea in the cup, and I got a smoothie in the glass. But yes, thank you for finding Sarah's wish list somehow. Don't really know how that happened. I was like, for a second, I was like, did I post it somewhere? And then I was like, did you post it? And he was like, I didn't post Jack. And I was like, how'd they get it? And we still have no idea. So very clever of you. Congratulations. I don't know which one of you found it, whether it was Rose, maybe, or some mastermind behind the scenes. But good to know. Anyway, I know Rose in particular has been badgering me about it. I have a wish list made up. There's some stuff on it. I still need to add more. I got about halfway through it today. But there's a lot of stuff on there. Well, not like a lot of stuff, but like some stuff. There's some stuff on there. And I know Rose is also asking. We'll tell you how later. Great. Good to know. All right. Thanks. I'll probably be in VC later. We're gonna do some stuff. Also, I got a Ko-fi, something, whatever. The website. It's on my link tree in my bio. If you want to donate, that is going to help me pay for some stuff that I can't get through Amazon. You can't add stuff to an Amazon wish list if it's just not there. And some things, you just can't find on Amazon at all or good enough quality. Yes.
I forgot to add, I updated my shopping list if y'all feel squirrely.
Sarah said he also added stuff to his in case y'all are feeling extra generous. All right.
And there's Pond.
There's Pond, and here's Pond. And Pond's here. Yeah, hi. Yeah, you want to come up here? Come on. It's fitting. It's planned for Cat's Day. Are you a cat from Ulthar? Are you going to come up here? Are you going to fuck with my ring light? Don't fuck with the ring. No. Pond. Stop it. Stop. Get up here. Rip my blanket apart. You love doing that. Come on. Get up here. Rip the blanket apart. Don't attack the ring light. She wants to attack the ring light. Say hi. You say hi? Yeah. It's because I vaped too early. Pond's here. She's going to attack my ring light or wait until we're in the thick of it, and then she's going to try and exit the room. I think she's going to chill in here. Good Pond. Just lay there and attack a blanket. Yeah, someone did say that. Nobody talk about it. If we all stop talking about it, we don't have to worry about getting it, the B word. Let's not talk about it. We're not talking about it. And I'll make sure to go off screen. Anyway, but we have what was I saying before this? Oh yeah, coffee. I got it set up, and that'll help with me getting stuff that I can't get off Amazon. Namely, I need, these are prescription. I can't see to film if they're not prescription. I'm completely blind, and I don't mean just slightly impaired where I can kind of get my phone set up sort of blind. No, I'm blind, walk into doors blind if I don't have prescription. So these are prescription, and I have to get all my contacts from a separate website, and I need like 3 pairs of contacts that I'm trying to find for a reasonable price in a prescription. So that'll help me get those, as well as some other stuff that's just not on Amazon. And supplies to make some stuff that I also can't get on Amazon. So that'll really help out if you feel so inclined. Don't feel obligated. But I just figured that if y'all are tracking down Sarah's nonsense, no. But if you do feel so inclined, I really appreciate it. You can get prescription. Yes, you can. And these are -8s. So if that tells you how bad your vision is, it is not as bad as mine. These puppies work. I can see, like full on clearly see. Happy belated birthday. But yeah, I'm blind, so all of my contacts are prescription. I have to get any color cosplay contacts. I have to get them in prescription, or I cannot see. Technically, I could wear my glasses over it, but it kind of ruins the effect. Because then everybody just thinks you're a different character than whichever one you're doing. Because you can bet whichever anime character you're trying to portray, there's also another one in the same font with glasses somewhere. And they're all going to think you're that one. You're blind. These are -8. These are -8, hon. They come in -8. You can bet you can find one in 3.7 and 4. Ooh, astigmatism is tough. Astigmatism is tough, I will say. Yeah. They do have extremely limited ones for prescription. Oh, thank you. It's a little owl. That's adorable. I appreciate it. But they do have like a very limited selection for prescription. Not all of them come in prescription, or you have to pay out the yin-yang to get them in prescription. I think my black demon contacts, they were almost like 100 something just for 1 pair for prescription. And even then, I can barely get them in my eyes. Oh, you're okay. I know people get personal stuff, and I missed a week not too long ago because I got sick. So I completely understand. Glad to see you back. I don't know if you'll completely understand what's going on at this point, but don't worry. I also am getting the YouTube updated. I got a lot of stuff done today. And I uploaded the missing audio and one of the lives, but long story short, and I can talk about this now because I have it back, but I was trying to transfer my data in my phone, like an internal storage, to the SD card, and somehow all of my pictures and video and content that I had saved on my phone for doing stuff with just mysteriously disappeared. And it took a long time for me to get it back. I just managed to do that yesterday. So all the missing lives are going to go up on YouTube. It's going to be updated hopefully sometime tonight. But if I can't get them all uploaded tonight, it should continue throughout the week. I'll be uploading the missing lives onto the YouTube. So, but I lost everything and I was really upset. I had the Darby cameo on my phone and I was so upset. I was like, I'm never gonna get that back. I have so much content on there. I have so much stuff saved and I can't find it. It was just gone. And it got moved to like a secure folder for no good reason. And it wouldn't, you had to look up specifically like the model of phone to figure out how to get into the secure folder. It was really stupid. I finally got everything out and I got everything recovered. I was like, this is really dumb. I don't know where all my pictures went. I didn't delete them. I know I didn't delete them. They're just gone. And I've been trying to find them for ages. And I finally figured it out last night and we got it fixed. So I got all my data back. I'm going to be able to upload all the stuff that's missing. I have content that I've recorded for TikTok on here that had missing portions because I have to edit it outside of TikTok because TikTok won't let me do a lot of the stuff I want to do. So I had lost all that and I just recovered it yesterday. So fun story. I've been very busy. Also had to call PayPal customer support. It's been a very long day. I'm hoping this is going to make it better. Like I'm going to feel really accomplished after this live. I also ordered sushi, and not to say anything, but whoever drove the sushi here either drives like a maniac or almost got into a wreck because it was not sushi anymore by the time it got here. Very bummed. That was the one part of my day that I was like, you know what, at least I got sushi. And then I opened it up and it was just straight up mangled. And I was like, cool, that tracks. Today's going so badly. So hopefully this live goes very smoothly or I'm gonna scream. No. And then I get up to set up the live and Denki's on here in a maid dress. And I was like, what is today? What is today? And I was like, you didn't text me before you did this so that I didn't have to open TikTok and be alarmed at you? I sent them a very aggressive Snapchat. Insomniac's here. Glad to see you. Glad you can make it. Oh yeah, I was like, I can be over in 10 minutes with a tail. It doesn't matter if it's purple. I don't have cat ears, but I was like, you want a tail? And they were like, no, stop. I only negged them for a little bit, and then I was like, seriously, next time this happens, text me before you do something dumb so I can come over there and film you. No, I got plenty of screenshots, and I did also send them the screenshots, so they are going to get off that live and then immediately go to their Snapchat. And then they're going to be very upset with me, which is going to be very funny to me. I am aware they didn't text me anything about this at all before they did it. So I just had to open TikTok and be very alarmed for 15 seconds or so. And then I was like, well, that tracks. So I hopped in their chat and make sure they knew that I was disparaging them. Haha. Nope. I didn't delete them. They're still on my phone. Now that I've recovered all the photos in my gallery, it should be great. Yeah, I sent them all. Or I didn't send them all. I just sent some of them. So I technically have even more than what I sent them. They're going to be very upset with me later. I told them that they need to call me before they do something dumb, and they don't. So I always find out about it later. I've also taken to doing this thing where I talk to Jesus as though he's my imaginary friend while they're in the room. And then tell them things that Jesus told me that is disparaging about their character. I also do that, which is a real fun activity for me. Do I believe in Jesus? No. Is it funny? I like to think so, but then again, I have a very weird sense of humor. So I don't think they find it as funny as I do. But Jesus is going to have a lot to say about this, is what I'm getting at. They're going to hate me. They won't. They won't hate me. I can't get rid of them. So, are we going to read this book? Are you all ready for story time? I think we're down to the main people. Swiftblood is here. So I think we're about ready to get on with it. Was I low-key stalling until Swiftblood got here? Maybe. Was I not? Who knows? Story time. Awesome. Okay. Well, last time, if you remember, they go to find the hermit, and the hermit is dead because he trained a bunch of drafts to basically inhabit a large stone colossus and kill all the womps. And that it did, but it also killed him and any other humans, because the drefts don't take direct orders, and they got a little confused when they saw a man in a womp suit dancing around. So they kill everybody. And Johannes Cabal took down the Colossus by stabbing it through the knee joint. And unfortunately, we did lose a person. So that's not great, but it wasn't part of our main party. So our main party is still alive, still seeking to destroy the phobic animus, and now we are journeying to Dylath-Leen so that we can find basically a stone archway that the hermit told us about after Johannes reanimated his head, decapitated head skull. So that's where we're at now. So we're going to go to Dylath-Leen, and we should be in for a real fun time. Not really. It's actually terrible, but hopefully we'll have fun along the way. So with that out of the way, we're going to start. And if you haven't joined us before, you probably wouldn't know this, but we're in the middle of a book, and not only just the middle of a book, it's the middle of the third book. You've missed 2 other books. So I don't know, maybe figure out what's going on first. Maybe go check out my YouTube where I read the whole thing to you. Maybe you go purchase the book and tell Jonathan Howard on Twitter how much you appreciate him and that you gave him money and that, you know, I didn't just jack everything and put it on YouTube. And maybe you join us here next week, same time, Tuesday at 8, all caught up, and you know exactly what's going on. And you can do that every single week until we're done with all 5 books. There are 5, yeah. So if you're just now joining us, you can sit here and listen to, I guess, what would be termed as a short story for you about alien slave traders and demon cats, but where's the fun in that? Get the whole story. Figure out, follow the money. Halliburton. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start on chapter 11. And if you want to know the page that we're on, I know someone's been asking for the page every single time. It is page 203 in my book, but it's the top of chapter 11. And we're going to go through 11 and 12 today. I will update you at the end what page we are on. I'll also update you in intermission if you want. I don't know who's been asking for the page number, but I just figured I'd throw that out there. Can I get my mic set up? Whoop. I'm going to move you closer because the Zoom's not working. And I want to sit with back support. There we go. Pond. Y'all strapped in? You're not going to make any chaotic moves for the mic stand in a minute? Good kid. Good girl. Yeah, no, you lay right there. You're good. Claw up this blanket. Just don't bother my ring light. There you go. All right. Chapter 11, in which it transpires that Dylath-Leen is not very nice. Captain Lockery was at sea, it transpired, and they therefore had to make alternative arrangements to go westwards from Baharna. This was how they came to be sharing a table with two merchants swathed in heavy black robes that left only their faces exposed, an unfortunate oversight in Cabal's opinion. The merchants smiled and chuckled and smirked and giggled and rubbed their heavily bejeweled gloved hands and tittered and were so transparently evil that he spent much of the time watching his colleagues for the moment when the penny must surely drop. After almost an hour of oleaginous dickering, Shadrach and the others were all set to buy passage aboard the merchant's black galley. Wearily, Cabal realized that he would have to save the day again. Luckily, he could do it by being monumentally rude. "So, gentlemen," he said to the merchants, "you undertake to transport we four to Dylath-Leen in safety and comfort. That is the deal, yes?" "Yes, oh, most perspicacious one," said one of the merchants, it barely mattered which, smiling and nodding and smiling some more. "Really, Mr. Cabal," said Shadrach sharply, "you haven't said a word in an age, and now you wish to be involved in the negotiation? I have the matter well in hand, I assure you." "Oh," said Cabal, chastened. "My apologies, Herr Shadrach. Forgive my interruption. Please, carry on." He leaned back in his chair and then added quietly but clearly, "selling us into slavery." "What?" said Cord. He looked at Cabal in surprise, then swung his gaze to the merchants, his expression hardening. He did not much care for Cabal's company, but he knew his instincts to be good. "These creatures before you, and I say creatures advisedly, mean to capture us all and sell us as slaves. At the conclusion of your discussion, they will call for wine to celebrate the agreement. The wine will, of course, contain enough soporifics to stun a Shoggoth. The intention is that when we wake, we shall find ourselves aboard the fetid black galley, which, incidentally, is safe and comfortable only for these people. Finally, we shall be dumped upon the moon. Yes," he said it quickly to overrule Shadrach's dismissive, "Ah, the moon is a viable environment in the Dreamlands, and it is inhabited by these people's employers, who are white and toad-like and hideous. They get through slaves quite rapidly, by a dual process of attrition and peckishness, hence a steady demand for replacements. It says little for the acuity of the Dreamland citizens that the merchants of the Black Galleys have been plying this trade for millennia, using precisely the feeble technique we see this evening, and people still fall for it." "It's all lies," said one merchant cheerfully. "We has dacoits," said the other happily. "No doubt you do," said Cabal, climbing to his feet. "And that is another excellent reason not to travel with you. Good night, gentlemen," he said to Shadrach, Bosey, and Cord. "I shall see you in the morning when we shall look for a real captain who has a real chance of getting us to Dylath-Leen. If I do not see you, I shall assume you have decided to ignore my advice, have accepted the offer of these—" He couldn't bring himself to flatter them with people, given he knew full well that beneath their robes they were not even faintly human. "These things, and that you are bound for an interesting, if short and miserable lunar experience." With that, he left. On one side of the table, Shadrach, Bosey, and Cord turned to regard the two merchants with manifest suspicion. "We has dacoits," repeated the second merchant, blissfully and sweeter, that had always sealed the deal in the past. "We'll try the docks tomorrow," said Cord to Shadrach, and left the table. Bosey followed quickly, and a moment later, with some reluctance, Shadrach. The two merchants sat smiling but nonplussed, looking around the room as if for an explanation as to why their infallible ruse had failed. After a few moments, two adventurers walked up to them, fine, swashbuckling types with chiseled jaws and declamatory voices. "Ho there, sirrah!" cried one, putting a knee-booted foot upon one of the recently vacated stools and resting his forearms on a raised knee. "Rumor has it that if a couple of bully boys like myself and my companion here—" "Ho-ho!" doomed his barrel-chested companion, fist on his hips. "Should seek passage to Dylath-Leen at the turn of the next tide, then you're the swarthy coves we should be talking to." He grinned, and his teeth gleamed as brightly as the golden ring in his ear. The merchants were only swarthy by dint of a layer of preservative upon the stolen faces they wore, faces that had once graced the skulls of two previous passengers. The chemical layer contracted over time, giving the faces a manic rictus that people simply interpreted as the open smile of an honest visage. "We has dacoits," said the second merchant gleefully, the only phrase in human speech it knew. "Done then!" roared the first adventurer, confident that a good voice projection and a waxed chest could see him through every predicament. He shook the hand of each merchant in turn, failing to notice that their arms each had 2 elbow joints. "Done and double done! We sail with the morrow's tide! Ho-ho!" boomed his barrel-chested companion, all unaware that in a week he would be giant moon-toad food. Next morning discovered Cabal and the others, they in a variety of moods from indifferent to disgruntled, he supremely unconcerned, negotiated passage aboard a weathered but serviceable caravel to Dylath-Leen. There was a clear advantage in traveling aboard the lean and rakish ship in that she would make significantly better time than a fat cog hybrid like Lockery's Edge of Dusk, a coastal vessel pressed into sea-crossing journeys with a few alterations to hull and sheets that ranged from canny to optimistic. The captain of the Audain, Whoosh Oleander, was short and fiery and came with an unusual prosthetic, apparently an entry requirement for the job. In his case, it was a scrimshaw left hand, beautifully carved to show a tiny vignette of a screaming Captain Oleander dangling by the stump of his wrist from the jaws of a great sea serpent. Bosey was particularly taken with it and plied him with questions about the event and whether Oleander was filled with an obsessive desire to pursue the sea serpent to the 4 corners of the dreamland seeking vengeance. But Oleander just looked at him askance and said, "No, these things happened and you just had to accept them." Bosey nodded sagely, digesting this shimmering truth, then asked about meals. After passage to Dylath-Leen had been agreed and their few belongings secured, Cabal and Cord stood by the rail as the ship made ready to depart on the running tide. They had little to say to one another, and instead watched the docks and the other ships departing the Oriab Island. One was a large black galley that slid by, its ranks of oars working strongly, silently, and with inhuman synchronization. On deck, 2 merchants swathed in black played quoits. As a breeze blew toward the Audain, it seemed to carry a scrap of sound with it, a voice raised in righteous indignation, apparently somewhere below. Cord frowned as he listened intently, then said to Cabal, "Did someone just shout, 'Release us at once, you varlets'?" Cabal watched the black galley glide by and out past the harbor mole, a great breakwater of natural and worked stone. "No," he said, and went below. The journey back across the sea was largely uneventful. They happened upon the sunken city again, and as before, the crew became anxious and hastened to clear it as quickly as they could. This time, however, they crossed it at dusk, and during the night the ship was paced by something that never came closer than 100 yards off the starboard beam, churning the sea into a phosphorescent glow as it went. Captain Oleander stood by the wheelsman for 5 long hours, quietly warning him to hold his heading and to change course neither closer nor further away from their submarine shadow. Eventually, whatever it was dived deep, leaving the surface to the waves and the white horses and the Dane as she sped away from those unhallowed waters. Oleander stayed watching until the sky started to lighten in the east, and only then did he go to his bunk. Cabal had little interest in such things. He was entirely of Captain Lockery's liver here. If a sea monster attacked the ship, there would be some screaming, men falling off rigging, and the other usual accoutrements of such an attack. And then they would all die, and that would be that. As he would have no say in the outcome, he failed to see any reason why he should spend time fussing about it. Besides, he had a much more immediate and more intriguing happenstance upon which to apply his intellect. He had been waiting for Hercusides to die again, but Hercusides hadn't, and Cabal found this perplexing in the extreme. The agent he had used to bring some sort of life back to the slightly crumpled skull had been a long shot, and he had been pleasantly surprised when it had not only worked, but worked magnificently. From past experience, the best he had been hoping for was a few sepulchral sentences from beyond the veil, yet, instead, Hercusides had been loquacious to the point of actually being rather exasperating. His personality seemed to be much as it had been in life, which was unfortunate, but there it was. Cabal had not even had to mutter the mandatory incantation to complete the ritual, indicating that perhaps in the dreamlands, mandatory was not so terrifically mandatory. Every day or so, he would open his Gladstone bag, and he was unsurprised, if increasingly perturbed, that cold ghost fire was still rolling off the skull, and that the spirit of Hercusides was still there, still aggravatingly chatty. "Is that you, Cabal?" the skull demanded, as Cabal took it out of his bag and placed it on the small table in the cramped cabin the 4 men shared. The others were up on deck at the moment, taking the air and, by the by, watching out for more sea monsters, although they would never admit that. "How did you know I had opened the bag?" asked Cabal. I was very quiet." "I could feel the light on me," said Hercusides. "Do you think I might be getting my sight back?" Cabal looked at the mummified eyelids over the empty sockets. "No," he said. He leaned back in his chair and regarded the flaming skull thoughtfully. "Whatever shall I do with you, Hercusides? Once upon a time I would have dropped you over the side and been done with you. That would have been the convenient thing to do, for me at least. These days I am minded that you were only talking now because of me, and that I am, in some tiresomely moral way, responsible for you. So..." He leaned forward and rested his chin on his hands on the tabletop, regarding the skull, nose to gap where the nose used to be. "What am I to do with you?" Hercusides was silent for a time, and then said, soberly and without resentment, as one learned man speaking to another, "Shall I ever know rest again?" "I do not know. You should have returned already, but the dreamlands seemingly amplify my powers, and do so unsystematically. I could destroy your skull, but I strongly doubt it would do any good. The bone is only an anchor for the fire, and the fire is you. You would still be here, but in nowhere near as convenient a form. But tell me, you are an aesthete and a hermit in life. Is this new existence really so execrable to you?" "No, and that I find execrable, but I have time to think now. Nor am I totally isolated while I still have one sense left to me." A pause, and then, "Ask me in a year, Cabal. Do that for me." "If I am still alive myself in a year," said Cabal, "you have my word." Where Loneth was virile and lively, Baharna was exotic and vivacious, Dylath-Leen was built from basalt and made no further claims. The Audane glided slowly into port soon after dawn, having sighted land too far to the south, and hugged the coast back to the north until it found the city. Captain Oleander made no apologies for the navigational misstep, pointing out that the changing course at the correct time would have made them cross paths with the thing in the sea, in which case they would probably all be dead by now. Given that, as an alternative, a few extra hours afloat seemed far preferable. Even having arrived at the city, the event was not one of great joy for crew or passengers. Their first sight of the docks lined with black galleys drew a pall over any such positive feelings. Oleander cut a wad of a grothy baccy and chewed it slowly as he eyed the ships with undisguised jaundice. "Never seen so many," he muttered under his breath. "I'm guessing we won't be calling at Dylath-Leen here again for too long." On the decks they could see figures swathed in black robes, their gloved hands glinting with rare yet vulgar gems, strolling around or conversing with one another in little gaggles, or playing deck quoits with an obvious ignorance of the rules, such was the depth of their depravity. He found his dock at the far end of the wharf, as far away from the ominous vessels as he could. Even as they were tying up to the broad bollards on the dockside, Oleander was already engaged in conversation with the other captains who had congregated nearby. Cabal, who was leaning on the rail, was able to make out the gist of the news, and it did not make comforting hearing. The scuttlebutt, a marine term for gossip that might amuse or bemuse the casual listener, depending on personal interpretation, was that Dylath-Leen was in serious trouble. The council, which had always maintained at least a cosmetic distrust of the black galleys, had suffered a reversal when all its leading members disappeared in a single night. The lesser members, all men of luxuriant taste and representative of the city's trading guilds, had slid into the senior executive roles aboard a carpet of greased palms, and their first act had been to revoke the limitations upon the black galleys, imposed some years earlier after a previous slavery scandal. There had been little surprise among the citizenry that the councillor's luxurious taste had subsequently been gratified to a disgusting level by nameless benefactors. Many people were finding excuses to leave the city, but since the captains of the guard had all been replaced with foreign mercenaries, it was becoming more and more difficult to get through the gates. Oleander walked back up the gangplank, scowling. He saw Cabal and said, "You mayn't want to be leaving the ship at this place after all, Master Cabal." "It doesn't seem very friendly here, Captain," agreed Cabal. He was thinking of what inevitably lay ahead. There would be a slow erosion of liberties within Dylath-Leen, and then, when the inhabitants were prepared to accept anything because they were permitted to do nothing, the patrons of the black galleys would regard this little patch of ground as safe enough for them to visit from their lunar cities. They would bring with them their unholy appetites and exercise them upon an unwilling populace. After that, it would only be a matter of months, at most, before Dylath-Leen joined the Dreamland's slowly growing list of abandoned and shunned places. By this point, the Fear Institute contingent had appeared on deck, carrying their small bags of belongings and eager to disembark. The captain and Cabal's sour expression gave them some small inkling that they were going to be missing out on hugs and lay. "Is there something awry, Cabal?" asked Cord. "Oh, I say, look at all those black boats!" cried Bosey, inadvertently answering the question. "And look, there are more coming!" Swearing an oath salty enough to make Dagon purse his lips, Oleander ran aft and looked to the harbor mouth. Bosey had spoken nothing more than the truth. Perhaps 2 miles off, 3 black galleys and a line astern were heading implacably towards Dylath-Leen. What are they doing?" he demanded of nobody in particular. "That's madness! They'll never get by the gates beam to beam like that." Then he understood, and his face grew pale beneath the tan. He ran to the rail and shouted down to the gossiping captains there gathered, "To your ships! To your ships! The devils mean to blockade the harbor!" Abruptly, all the serious standing around and muttering ominously at one another turned into a mad and undignified dash back to their vessels. Even as they did so, Cabal saw that the city guard, in full mail and faceless behind their helmets, was approaching the docks at a lumbering charge. They ran oddly, as if their knees weren't in quite the right places for their greaves, nor for the first time he wished he had access to something with rather more range than a rapier. "Captain," he began. "I see him, Master Cabal," snapped Oleander. "Cast off, fore and aft! Cut the lines, damn you!" Axes thudded and mooring ropes parted. The gangplank, forgotten in the frenzy of intent, fell into the water between the ship's side and the dock as she started to move away, pushed back fiercely by crewmen wielding poles. "Herr Cord," said Cabal. He was watching several of the guards still heading straight for them, despite the widening gap between the ship and the quay. "Draw your sword." He drew his own, his eyes never leaving the charging guards. Cord frowned at him, followed his gaze, and scoffed. "You're joking, Cabal. The gap's 20 feet if it's an inch. They couldn't make it even if they weren't weighed down in armor. Relax. They'll end up drowning themselves." "If they were men, I would agree," said Cabal, as the first guard reached the quayside and without hesitation threw himself toward the Audain. In a cool, rational world, the guardsman would have described a graceless parabola into the harbor waters, and wrapped in steel knitting as he was, made swift progress to the seabed. The Dreamlands, however, do not present a cool, rational world, instead favoring a sequence of events such as the guard leaping the gap as if catapulted, crashing heavily into the rail without even a grunt, and then hurdling it easily, drawing its... We can no longer dignify such a creature with his longsword and looking for somebody to carve up with it. Cabal backed away as the guard swung its helmeted head this way and that. "Herr Cord, how much provocation do you need?" Cord said nothing, but let his cloak fall from his shoulders to reveal the leather armor beneath. The sound of his sword sliding from its scabbard was enough to engage the guard's attention. There was another dull, gruntless thump against the rail, and then another, but this one was followed by a splash. The Audain was finally out of jumping distance for even these inhuman creatures. The first guard spoke, but it was an unconvincing attempt, full of gurglings and basso profundo boomings from deep within. It tried again, and this time managed to produce something like human speech, although it was as convincing as a rendition as a dog saying sausages. "Ship impounded by authority of impounded." It swung its head from side to side, a poor impersonation of a man looking around. Cabal's misgivings deepened. However, the guard was sensing them. It was not through the eyes. "Y'all step off my ship, sir," demanded Oleander. He carried a polished falchion that Cabal had assumed uncharitably was for show. Now drawn and glinting in the weak sunlight, it looked far more like a device for creative hacking. "Ship impounded. Order of Council. Dylath-Leen." And without allowing even the shortest moment for a reply, it launched into the attack. Oleander met the splashing blow with a fast parry of his falchion that struck sparks. He thrust the guard's sword arm to one side and shoved it back with his free hand to gain a little space. Cabal, meanwhile, was weighing up the wider situation. All along the deck, the other manned ships were trying to cut loose while their crews engaged the wave of bestial guards. A swift glance over his shoulder showed that the 3 galleys were close by the mole, and all had their tillers hard over, swinging across to block the harbor mouth. Then, to add to this rapidly populating list of concerns, he saw that some of the black galleys already in dock were moving out to engage the ships that had managed to cast off. They were in a rat trap, and his mind whirling through alternative plans, Cabal could see no way out of it. Then he noticed the second guard, who had jumped, painfully hauling itself onto the rail, and noted with satisfaction that there was at least one small victory he could achieve. "Cord, help the captain, you idiot!" he shouted as he ran for the second guard. "You don't need to be invited." Cord, who at some deep and very English level was indeed waiting for an invitation to fight, a slap with a gauntlet or a strongly worded note perhaps, shuddered into action. He ran forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with Oleander, jumping around a bit as if preparing to receive a serve in a friendly game of tennis. "Get behind it," said Oleander angrily as Cord ate into his room for maneuver. "Stab it in the back." While Cord wrestled with his sense of fair play, Cabal had reached the rail at a charge. The second guard had just got its head above when it found a rapier waiting for it. Cabal struck hard and precisely, the tip of the blade going neatly through the left eye of the guard's helmet. Cabal doubted he could blind it, but hoped it had something precious to it stored inside its head. A brain would be lovely, but an important nerve ganglion would suffice. The guard made a sloppy, wet noise as the blade went in, but Cabal could not tell if it was the sound of important flesh being parted or a vocalization in whatever slithy collection of dripping, slobbering, and burbling sounds it pleased the guard to regard as its native language. Then the guard shook its head angrily as if getting a length of steel through the eye was a mild irritation on par with a snapped shoelace. Cabal realized that more robust measures than merely stabbing it through the head would be necessary. The guard managed to get both hands on the rail and said something that sounded like a blocked sink clearing, yet still maintaining the tonal je ne sais quoi that allows one with decent linguistic skills, and Cabal's were more than decent, to know that a frightful insult had just been uttered. Cabal did not tolerate insult, especially from burbling things that refused to die easily. Lying near at hand was a discarded axe that had been used mere minutes ago to part the hawsers. Cabal left his rapier in the guard's eye, took up the axe, and severed the guard's wrist with two well-placed blows twixt gauntlet and bracer. The guard made a new burbling sound, this time denoting surprise, and fell backwards. Cabal snatched his rapier from somewhere he'd left it parked in the guard's head and favored the falling creature with a humorless smile as it vanished from sight, hitting the water a moment later. On the deck, the two orphaned hands started to crawl away, presumably looking for a hiding place where they could plot their revenge. Cabal picked them up by the lanes across the gauntlet backs as if handling particularly feisty crabs and tossed them into the harbor. They could do their plotting in the mud as far as he was concerned. "It won't die!" Cord's shout, generously scented with more panic than rational concern, drew Cabal's attention. Oleander was barely holding his own in a vicious exchange of blows with the first guard, while Cord stabbed it repeatedly in the back with the enthusiasm of a masochist poking a wasp's nest. Cabal returned his rapier to its scabbard, recovered the axe from where he had left it embedded in the rail with a pool of whey-like blood around it, and went to assist. "You failed to employ the scientific method, Herr Cord," he said as he approached. "After sufficient experiments to confirm your initial observation, in this case that stabbing is as an effective strategy, one should move on to new hypotheses. The creature is concentrating entirely upon the captain, perhaps because his falchion is a slashing weapon. Does the creature regard being slashed as more deleterious to its general operation than being stabbed? Let us experiment." So saying, he used the end of the axe to tip the guard's helmet forward a little, exposing flesh with the color, consistency, and wet texture of fresh blancmange. Then he drew back the axe and decapitated the guard. The guard was definitely surprised, not killed, or apparently wounded in any significant degree, but certainly surprised. It turned to Cabal, the space over its neck giving every intimation of being very surprised. There, said Cabal, pleased. It was always gratifying to see a hypothesis verified. It was less gratifying to have a headless and angry monstrosity bear down on one when it soared as twice the reach of one's axe. Some assistance here? Asked Cabal as he backed quickly away. Oleander needed no second prompting. Aiming at the top of the shoulder as the guard turned away from him, he swung the falchion with great force. The links in the mail separated easily. Apparently, such work went into the lowest bidders, even in the Dreamlands. And the blade almost reached the armpit before running out of energy. The guard's right arm flopped down, boneless and skinless, less grown than extruded. Oleander pursed his lips like an artist considering where to make the next brush stroke, and hacked at the thin silver sliver holding the arm on. It fell, the sword clattering free, and after a moment the hand started to drag the arm off behind it as it sought shelter. Oleander and Cabal laid into the defenseless hulk of the guard, smashing it down with heavy blows until it toppled, then pounding its form until pale liquescent filth flowed from the ragged sleeve and the neck of the male Bernie, and the armor sank until it was empty. What was that? Said Cord, his eyes wide and wild. What sort of creature? Something cheap and expendable, said Cabal, but his attention was elsewhere. The trap was still closing. The fight on the Audain's deck had taken only seconds, and the crew who had moved to help were already back at their stations, trying to escape the wave of galleys that was nearing them. It was plainly a hopeless endeavor, however. The oars of the galleys swept mechanically and relentlessly, while the Audain could make little steerage with her sails furled, despite the crew's hard sculling. It was for the captain to call, and he stood watching the oncoming galleys as he considered the options. Captain, said Cabal quietly at his side, if you give up the ship, you and your men will be slaves within the hour, and dead within a month. I intend to fight. He drew his rapier and awaited Oleander's decision. Oleander took a moment to reach it, not least because every reasonable outcome ended in death. All that mattered now was choosing which particular path was most acceptable. Men, he shouted, stand by to repel boarders. It was a strange moment when one realizes that one's life is now measured in minutes, and that whatever great plans might have been laid are now all moot and pointless, and in the great burning clarity of the instant, trivial. Cabal did not know what the others were thinking of, neither did he care. All he knew was that the course of his life had long been nothing more than a list of calculated risks, and that finally his luck had run out. All the work, all the hardships, all the sacrifices, both personal and of livestock, had been for naught. His work would never see fruition. He would never see her again. But that was not his fault, and he regretted nothing. He gave the situation one last appraisal before committing to what would likely be the last decision of his life. Behind him, Shadrach raised to look dignified, but was leaning on the mainmast to support him as his knees turned to water. Bosey had given up any pretense of bravery and was huddled in the angle between the quarterdeck steps and the rail, trying to will himself into invisibility. Cord held his sword in his hand and was looking at it with new eyes, as if realizing that the skill with which he might wield it would mark the difference between a fast and dishonorable death or one drawn out a few seconds longer. It would mean at least that he hadn't died meekly and mildly, a sacrifice to alien gods. Oleander and his men were armed and ready, facing the enemy with determination on their faces and not a whit of hope in their hearts. Cabal felt something fluttering in his chest and applied himself to crushing down the rising panic. Panic would only result in a confused, meaningless death. He would remain calm and rational to the end. The phobic animus would not have him for its prey in its last moments. He would continue being his own man to the final second. He could expect nothing less of himself, and so he stood, resolute and perhaps even a little heroic, as one of the approaching black galleys suddenly threw its tiller hard over, turned to port, and smashed into the forward side of the next galley. Cabal blinked in astonishment, and as he blinked, so did the Dreamlands. There was a sense of waking from a nightmare, only to find oneself still in it. The harbor, the ships, Dylath-Leen, even the sky and the sea seemed to flutter indecisively between possible meanings and the collateral paradigms. Cabal's sword became a pistol, then a sword, then some sort of extraordinary long gun, and then it was a sword again. The Dreamlands were changing, but in awkward, inelegant, stuttering steps. He suddenly realized that they weren't changing nearly so much as being changed. Somewhere, a great consciousness had placed them under the lens of its awareness, and the very act of being observed was making their reality waver, like a thumb flickering over a mail-order catalog. He looked up as if expecting an eye of cosmic proportion to be staring at him through the blueness and the high clouds. Then he heard the screams, and around him the world gelled back into something similar to what it had been. Now, however, one of the attacking galleys was up to the bowsprit in the hull of its neighbor, and the wounded ship was screaming. But then the whole world was screaming. Everyone, even the galley slavers in their shapeless black robes, were looking to the sky and screaming or howling or sobbing. For the blue morning sky had burned black in a ragged hole through which could be seen the Dreamland's moon, and the moon, too, was burning. And that's the end of chapter 11. The moon's on fire. It is what it is. The moon's on fire. Same. I like how he manages to write sarcastically, like not just the dialogue, the writing itself is sarcastic. Magnificent. I love it. I love everything about it. Yeah, the moon's on fire. We're trapped on a ship. There's a bunch of alien slave traders screaming. It's nuts. Yeah. It is what it is. Hope you're having fun. I bet you all are so glad you showed up today. Yeah, fun stuff. It's pretty great. I love the writing style in this book. I reached the end of my tea. I drank some of the dregs and the tea. That was unpleasant. That was unpleasant. I hate it when somehow the tea leaves get through the strainer and I swallow them. Sounds like a bad day to take a cruise. Yeah. Yes, all those disposable thesauruses I've heard so much about. You know, the single-use ones, you look up one and then you throw them in the trash and then you have to purchase another thesaurus. Yep. Broke the Dreamlands. Well, you'll see. It'll be fun. But keep in mind, Johannes doesn't have the power to break the Dreamlands. If he could, he would have just been able to do all his research without having to do this little expedition. if he had that kind of power. So it wasn't Johannes that broke it. I'm not denying somebody broke it. But are we sure it's Johannes? Really think on that. Nyarlathotep. No, Nyarlathotep could, yeah. True, Dreamlands are the magic. Thank you for the roses. The cats did it. Oh, might be making a little too much of the cats, but the cats are coming up. The cats are in the next chapter. I don't know how the cats would have done that. That would have been really cool. I feel like whatever the supposition is of... Oh, God, okay. Think of the characterization of every trope and stereotype from every fantasy novel, every horror novel, every sci-fi novel. That is the collective truth of the Dreamlands. That is the physics of that world. That is why magic works the way that it does. That's why Arcusides is still on fire. That's why he's still able to talk. Because this is magic rules, baby. This isn't real life anymore. So crazy. So, like, anything that you would expect to work with normal physics doesn't necessarily... Like, when the slave traders and the black galleys are running off the deck and they're gonna jump, and Cord is like, they're gonna drown, it's fine. This is the Dreamlands. That doesn't happen in swashbuckling adventures. No, they always make it to the side of the ship. At least a couple of them. And that's exactly what happens. Because they're the physics of fantasy. It's not actual physics. Of course they're gonna make it. This is the Dreamlands. This isn't real life. This is a fantasy novel. You're in the Page Master, sucker. Like, you're in the Page Master. Anybody remember the Page Master? Blast from the past here. I didn't even remember the words Page Master until this exact moment. Do we know what I'm talking about? Yes. The Page Master. That's what we're in. I do too. I love the Page Master. That was like my favorite movie when I was a kid. That and Fern Gully. But that's what you're doing. That's what this is. You're in the Page Master. And now we are so close, you guys. I think we only have... Hold on. Let me check. Yeah, there's only 17 chapters in this thing. So we only have 3 weeks left of this after today. 3 more Tuesdays of the third book. So, yes, if you haven't seen The Page Master, definitely watch The Page Master. It's like an old animated film, or half animated, most of it's animated, but it's... You'll understand when you see it, what I'm talking about, but it's story tropes. Every overplayed stereotype, every trope of any genre is present in the Dreamlands. That's the physics of how the world operates, instead of things you can count on, like gravity and dimension, time, space, distance traveled. None of that, even your own stamina, is up to your interpretation. If you think you're strong, you are. If you think you're tall, you are. If you think you can run up a mountain in 15 to 20 minutes, you probably could, because you believe it. That is how the Dreamlands operates. But if you expect yourself to be out of shape, if you expect yourself to lose or die or be old, you will be. Horror was the cutest. Yeah. Horror was my favorite. Humans don't have tails. But yeah, that is the physics of how the world operates. The world doesn't operate with any of the physics that you know. Instead, physics are open to the interpretation of anyone with an imagination that has ever lived. And what we've all collectively agreed upon as consciously acceptable in fiction is the norm. That is their physics. That's what makes up that entire world. So surprised there weren't unicorns. I feel like there should be unicorns. But we didn't get unicorns. I don't know. Maybe Jonathan Howard is anti-unicorn. It's like, fuck unicorns. He'd probably make them horrifying in some way. I don't know. They're actually really aggressive, like dolphins. I don't know. But the lore doesn't tell us they're aggressive like dolphins. And dolphins are probably really sweet there. Or they've all been eaten by Cthulhu. Because Cthulhu is very tangibly in the story. I'm also surprised dinosaurs didn't. Never mind. It's fine. It's whatever. He couldn't include everything. It's not pertinent to the story for everything to be in there. But thank you for the finger hearts. But I do think that to a certain extent, limitations and expectations do guide. They do have physics in the Dreamlands, but the physics are just different parameters than what normal physics would be. Which is extremely inconvenient because you can nail absolutely nothing down. So, in and of itself, that's frustrating. For me, it would be frustrating. The person who requires math to function on a daily basis. If things are not divisible by 38 by the end of the day, I'm gonna lose it. Why 38? I don't know. It's the number I'm working with lately. I don't know. I assign numbers to things to feel better. I do math a lot. Constantly. Almost constantly. I'm doing math right now. So if you tell me something's a certain amount of miles, if it's not that, I'm going to lose it. If I don't have a quantifiable amount of miles, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad. So being like, how far to this? And I don't know, about this much, I'd lose it. I would absolutely lose my mind. I would not make it in the Dreamlands. I am under no illusions that I would survive. I would die immediately. Ooh, new homework idea. Everybody tell me how you think you would die in the Dreamlands. You can wait until the book is over if you want to know other deaths and stuff, but anyway, tell me how you think you would die. I am well aware of my mental capacity for my own expectations, and I am very sure that if I did not go insane, I'm gonna go with, you know what? Shoggoths. If I didn't have a gun, definitely die from shoggoths. It wouldn't work. Cause like, fuck, if I'm not making a fire at night, like, I don't think I can handle it if I had to be. Depends on if I was by myself. I feel like I'd be calmer if I was by myself, but if I was in a camp, it all depends on if I had company, how long I would live. Oh, what's this thing? The classic death. I know exactly where you would die. We haven't gotten to it yet, but I know exactly how you would die, Insomniac, just based on that answer. And I will follow up with you when we get there, and I will alert you to where you would die. But I am almost pretty sure it would be Shoggoths. Either that. I'm not. Or pirates. You know what? Pirates, maybe. I could also see myself dying from pirates. Unclear. There's 1,000 ways to die. Both the TV show and in the Dreamlands. But yeah, if you think of a cool way that you think you would probably die in the Dreamlands, get at me. Let me know. I just like thinking about my own death a lot, and so coming up with fantastical deaths, kind of my thing. I'm under no delusions as to my own capabilities. I know what I'm capable of, and I equally know what I'm not capable of. Be self-aware, you guys, is what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm probably pirates. If I'm being honest, if I was outnumbered. See, I would treat almost any foreign entity with the expectation of animosity. I would just expect it to not be friendly. I wouldn't go up to anything, including the cats. That might be the way that if I did not know I was in the Dreamlands and I was lacking the knowledge of the terrain I was in, and I saw a cat, either that or the cats would love me, because my number one plan would be to feed the cats, right? I don't know. I can't tell. We'll get there. We're actually going to get to the cats. Who wants to get to the cats? Are we ready to go on this? Are we good to go? Do you need another smoothie? Or a cat? Hi, Pond. By the way, she's being very good tonight. Just sort of chilling and licking herself. Good job, Pond. You do it. Meow too. I would probably pull a Johannes and call on a god and die that way. Dangerous. Do we need to wait for you? We'll wait. We're going to wait for Dendrus to get their smoothie. Dendrus, let us know when you're back. But yeah, at me with all the ways you feel like you could die. I feel like it could die in a number of different ways, obviously. But me and Bakugo don't talk. Well, Maxwell, you can have anything you want. Tea, coffee, water, juice, doesn't matter. Anything can be a smoothie. Oh, no. Well, hopefully I'll have everything uploaded on YouTube very quickly so that you can hear about the cats. Yeah, Dendrus is back. Sweet, we're gonna get going. Reading about the cats. Yeah, boy. While my cat innocently licks herself. Good job, Pond. Being a good cat. You're not gonna murder me viciously and brutally in the night, are you? No. You would never. You would never. She would never. Anyway. So now we're gonna get into it. Where's my bookmark? It's gone. Okay, chapter 12. And there's a little picture of a cat. Kitty. Okay. Yes. Tell me later, Swiftblood. Okay. Chapter 12. In which there are monsters and cats, which is to say, very much the same thing. What is happening? Bellowed Oleander over the fearful cries and the rising note of a strengthening wind. What have those devils done? By devils, he meant the masters of the black galleys, but even a glance was sufficient to assure anyone that not only were they not responsible for these new phenomena, but they were even more horrified by them than the humans of Dylath-Leen. The slavers tore away their stolen faces and threw them aside, pulling back their tangle musks, thin white tendrils, the color of cave fish, unfurling to undulate at the moon like weed on the seabed. They then screamed at the sight of the burning moon, "Panglui cavolo mafagno la sirach," a phrase that translates to something far shorter in English. The men who had looked upon these horrors felt their sanity shift, and minds broke in that moment. Cord gave a shriek like a terrified child and backed away, shaking his head to deny the existence from which his eyes could not be drawn. Bosey still lay bundled up in the corner of the deck, his shoulders heaving with his sobs, and Shadrach made no noise at all. Cabal looked around to find the cadaverous Shadrach, and found him clutching futilely at his throat. There, the first guard's severed arm had him, the great gauntleted hand almost encircling his neck. Shadrach made no sound, but his face was dark, and his eyes were starting from his head. Cabal started to run toward the stricken man, but he knew it was already too late. The hand was not merely strangling Shadrach, it was crushing his neck. Cabal was only a matter of 2 yards from Shadrach when there was a percussive sound of collapsing cartilage and the crunch of failing bone. Shadrach's face became slack, and he fell back against the rail, then over it. Cabal reached it just in time to see the splash and Shadrach's discreetly expensive shoes with the curled toes disappear beneath the water. Cursing at an avoidable loss, he should have dealt with the arm after those limbs' tendency for awkward autonomy had already been demonstrated. He turned back, but the tableau had barely changed. Beyond becoming fractionally worse, the fires on the moon had changed from wide clouds into distinct red points of light, indicating a series of simultaneous explosions across the surface. They showed against the pale lunar rock like buboes on a dead man's face, and Cabal guessed that these were the cities of the moon things, the creatures whose agents were even now standing awestruck, venting gluttonous polysyllables of arcane vulgarity. He went to Oleander and shook him roughly by the arm until he gained his attention. "The sky," said Oleander, a vacant look of shock in his eyes. "The sky is broken." "So it is," said Cabal pointedly, ignoring it, for the wise man avoids falling through the ice by never setting foot upon it. "Oleander, you have to pull yourself together. The slavers are directionless at present, but we don't know how long that will last. We must press the advantage while they are disrupted." But Oleander would only murmur, The sky, with a terrible expression of haunted loss upon his face. So Cabal hit him, which worked very well. He suddenly focused on Cabal like a startled drunk and was drawing back his blade when Cabal grabbed his sword hand in one of his own, Oleander's jaw in the other, and shouted in his face, "Time, Captain! We are running out of time! Burning skies and exploding moons are all very well, but aliens with a massive bavette for faces are more immediate of a concern." Oleander shook himself free of Cabal's grip and tried to rally the forces of his routed sanity, searching for a standard by which to gather them. He settled on pasta. "What is this bavette of which you speak?" "It's a form of spaghetti." Cabal could see the answers to Oleander's next questions were in all likelihood going to be pasta, Italy, and a country, so he cut sharply past such quizzical distractions with, "Of no importance at the moment. Action, however, is. The creatures are defenseless and vulnerable. You will never get such a good chance to kill the slavers again." Finally, the captain's wits had their standard by which to regroup. The black galleys had long been distrusted among many of the races of men in the Dreamlands, but never before had their true nature been so publicly exposed. And never before had the opportunity for vengeance upon them been so advantageous. This would be a time of righteous glory, with a decent prospect of looting thrown in. It was too magnificent for any man with blood in his veins to resist. Oleander's blood was red and hot, and he had a strong, no, irresistible urge to see what ran in the slaver's veins. With a shout that overrode his crew's terrors, he rushed forward at their head, throwing grappling lines to draw in the nearest galley, a vessel that so recently they would have done anything to avoid. Cabal didn't know what their chances were. If they died, at least they would be distracting the slavers as they did so, allowing him and his two remaining charges some precious time to make good their escape. The few inhuman guards scattered about the wharf were as fascinated and discommoded by the destruction of their home cities as the slavers, but how long that would last he could not say. Neither did he care to bet his future safety against it being more than a few minutes. An alternative presented itself. If they got onto the northern harbor wall, they could follow it around until they were on the mole, then cut across and circumnavigate the edge of the city wall. Yes, there was a tower to protect the city against invaders, performing exactly the reciprocal maneuver, but with luck, they would be staring skyward in gormless expressions on their pasta-like faces long enough. It was a gamble, but a lesser one than hoping to make it all the way through the city unchallenged. Cord was staring fixedly at the hull of the black galley that had been torn open by its neighbor. Exposed within lay folds of brain-like tissue into which the shafts of the oars sank, secured with collar plates riveted directly into the living mass. It was screaming, a thin, ululating whine like an unappreciated shaman, but in such volume that it set the teeth on edge. Between the flesh and the shattered wood of the hull flapped thin leaves of metal that seemed like lead one moment, yet glistened with a rainbow of colors the next, colors not to be found anywhere upon the electromagnetic spectrum. The thin layer of metal had been placed there to keep the galley thing's compartment hermetically sealed. Now that it was exposed to the air, its flesh boiled and melted, and the creature screamed endlessly without pause or attenuation. Cabal quickly surmised that shaking Cord to gain his attention was too time-consuming, too likely to fail, and would involve spending far too much time within his personal space. So he just went directly to his tried and tested supplemental plan. It was more of a punch than a slap, but it proved as efficacious as it had with Oleander, dragging Cord back from the slippery slope of cosmic horror while simultaneously allowing Cabal to alleviate some of his growing frustration with the situation. "Come along," Cabal barked at Cord, as if he were a recalcitrant schoolboy on a day trip. "No time for dawdling." Without waiting for a response beyond an expression of outraged astonishment, he ran to Bosey's side and pulled the sobbing man to his feet. "Where's Shodrock?" demanded Cord as he followed. "Mr. Shodrock's dead," said Bosey in a pitiful small voice. "It got him. It killed him. He fell into the water." Cord tried to say something, but it failed in his throat. "It was an arm," added Bosey pathetically and parenthetically. Cabal looked at Bosey, his expression entirely neutral. Then he said, "Herr Bosey is correct. Shodrock is dead. The loss of the money he carried may present a problem later. Currently, however, we do not have time to discuss that, or what a splendid chap he was, or whatever other reason is making you stand there impersonating a guppy, Herr Cord. We must be gone immediately." The wind was rising, and both the Audain and the galley to which she was grappled were being driven to the lee shore, close by the end of the wharf and the start of the sea wall. All they had to do was wait a couple of minutes, and they would be in position to jump ashore and make off. Cord started for the quarterdeck, but Cabal stopped him, and instead they went into Oleander's cabin. A much shorter jump from its bow windows down to the shallows. It also meant they didn't have to watch Oleander and his men engaged in a loathsome, nightmarish fight with the inhuman slavers, a fight rich with blood and ichors, desperation and despair. Finally, Cabal's plan furnished him with an opportunity to repair their financial misfortunes by breaking into the captain's strongbox and stealing a quantity of gold coin. Cord watched him with evident disapproval, but did not stop him. He only said, "The captain's been good to us. He's out there right now, fighting for his life." Cabal finished stowing a heavy purse in his Gladstone and said, "He will shortly be dead or won't care, or he will have defeated the slavers and will be in a position to loot their ship, in which case the loss of his footling quantity of gold will be galling but hardly devastating. In either event, our need is greater than his." He paused as the ship shuddered and grated against the pebbles of the harbor beach. "Aha! Our cue to run away like cowards and thieves." The Great Escape was miserable, wet, and tiring. They trudged to freedom. Bosey and Cord walked with their heads bowed, and better to ignore the torn sky and the wounded moon. It seemed that lunar cities had decent firefighting arrangements, as the red dots grew fewer by the minute. Presumably, even as the three men waded through the shallows by the sea wall and marched with squelching steps up the mole, bloated white moon toads in brass helmets were hosing down their predictably cyclopean buildings. They would have to do it themselves, as it was hard to believe their slaves would be in any hurry to help. They would be standing by with space marshmallows on sticks, having the one and only good time they could expect as thralls of the toad things. Cabal kept his head up and disregarded the heavenly apocalypse as easily as more mundane folk might disregard an unremarkable cloud. He had seen Inferno and Tempest, and had not only looked into the abyss, but the abyss had looked into him, and then made disparaging comments. Some charred troposphere and smoke-damaged moon were hardly worth a footnote. The guards on the watchtower were not of the same liver, should they have livers at all, which seemed unlikely, and were howling skywards with their facial tentacles and sinusoidal agitation. As a race, it seemed they were not used to suffering reverses, and would probably be sobbing into their beer analog for many months to come. Cabal's party followed the path around the outside of the wall, then stayed close to it until they came to a tumble of rocks that gave them cover to break away and head into the countryside. Even when they got a safe distance from the wall, however, they did not speak. Bosie and Cord because they were subdued by what they had so recently experienced, and Cabal because he was Cabal and felt little need to jabber incontinently for the sake of conversation. It was only when they had walked for some hours that Cord broke the silence. "The expedition is a disaster," he said. "We have lost one of our number, and who knows what else we may have lost." He looked to the sky, but the rent in the atmosphere had healed with only a dispersed, jagged pink line to show it had ever been there, and even this was slowly dissipating. Cabal stopped walking and leaned against a dry stone wall bordering a farmer's field. "You mean Shadrach's money?" No, I do not." Cabal was speechless with rage for a moment, then blurted, "I mean, our minds, our very souls. Why did we ever come here?" "The phobic animus," said Bosie quietly, settling himself on a boulder by the road. "Yes, I know that, Bosie. I don't mean..." Cord shook his head, tired and defeated. "We must go back." "I agree," said Cabal. "You would," said Bosie. Both Cabal and Cord looked at him with some surprise. Finding himself suddenly under observation, Bosie couldn't meet their eyes, so he addressed the turf at his feet instead. "You've made it very plain from the earliest stages of this venture that you thought us foolish and our quest pointless, and I have no doubt that you've only stuck with us so far because of your own curiosity about the Dreamlands. We were foolish to leave the Silver Key in your hands, but I think we all thought that by your own lights you were honorable. Well, I release you from any remaining responsibilities. Take Mr. Cord and get back to the waking world. There's no use to you both dying for a cause you do not believe in." He straightened his legs and slid off the boulder to land on his feet. He took a deep breath and started walking again. "Wait, Bosie, wait!" cried Cord to the little man's back. "Where are you going?" Bosie did not turn, but kept walking. "To the island of Mormo in the Serenarian Sea. I shall find it in the phobic animus, and then I shall try..." He stopped walking. "I shall try very, very hard to destroy it." He began walking again. They watched Bosie walk on without them in silence for a long minute. Said Cabal. "Oh, for heaven's sake," said Cord. Then he started running after Bosie. "Bosie! Mr. Bosie! Gardener! Wait!" Said Cabal again, and walked after the pair of them. 100 yards later, he caught up with Cord and Bosie, who were having a heated discussion. Bosie was saying, "Shadrach died for this. I cannot just give up immediately afterwards, as if that counts for nothing. I do not weigh my life as worth more than his. I must go on. Don't you see?" "Damn you, Bose!" It was hard to be sure if Cord was angrier with Bosie or himself. "Damn you! We'll all die in this misbegotten world if we don't leave. Can't you see that?" No, I don't. Although I would be happier if Mr. Cabal were to stay with us, or me, if you insist on returning." "Me?" said Cabal, intrigued. "Why me?" "You saved us all against the spider and baby things, and against the black galleys, and without you, we never would have known that our goal lies on Mormo. Hold hard, said Cabal, raising an admonishing finger. I had nothing to do with what happened back there. Didn't you? I'm not so sure, Mr. Cabal. I saw the hand of divine providence in what happened, perhaps not the divinity that we usually look to, but any port in a storm, eh? Cabal's face hardened. He had been trying hard to forget about his inadvertent calling down of Nyarlathotep in the dark wood and the irrational but fervent hope that if he forgot about it, so would the god. Unfortunately, it seemed likely that Bosie was correct. It was stretching coincidence a little far to believe that the sky had just decided to split open and the moon to explode at the exact moment on a whim. It seemed that Cabal was still being monitored by a supernatural force that, for reasons that remained alien and indistinct, had taken an apparently benevolent interest in his activities. There seemed to be no reason for it. Nyarlathotep was a deity more than usually well-disposed to incandescent levels of mindless terror. Why it would see fit to aid an expedition to destroy the well of an all-irrational fear was a mystery, and perhaps one that transcended the human's mind's ability to comprehend, even if it was explained very, very slowly with diagrams, models, and glove puppets. Probably quite frightening glove puppets. The entity to which you are referring, Herr Bosie, is notoriously fickle. It did not intervene in the nameless city. But that wooden monstrosity just fell over, didn't it? What caused that? Said Cord. Cabal looked at him in offended consternation. They had not spoken of that night again, except in the broadest terms. Hulk's death still throwing a pall upon events, but he had not realized that they thought the Sinew-Wood giant's fall was due to natural, supernatural, or otherwise non-Cabalian causes. It just fell over, he said icily, because I was on its shin, waggling a knife around inside its knee joint. I don't suppose either of you noticed that, due to all the intense skulking you were doing at the time. This was slightly hypocritical of Cabal, who had done a great deal of skulking in his life, and was probably regarded as something of a master of the form amongst the skulking fraternity. Bosie nodded thoughtfully, but Cord was stung. Are you suggesting that we are cowards, Cabal? Not at all, said Cabal. I'm stating it. Bosie at least has the grace to admit it, by act if not by word. He has never pretended to be anything he is not, apart from a magistrate, he conceded, gesturing at Bosie's judicial robes. But that was rather thrust upon him by the Dreamlands. Reach for that sword, and I shall kill you where you stand. For Cord's hand had strayed to the hilt. It wavered there for a moment, then fell by his side. Once he was satisfied that Cord would not sully his discourse with any further murderous intentions, Cabal continued. That, Herr Cord, was reasonable caution. Your behavior in the presence of Hercusides' great scarecrow was not. Any lucid, rational eye would quickly have discerned the thing's nature and evolved a strategy for dealing with it, as I did. I required no external agencies to do so. Yet, as soon as he had said it, he doubted it. He had not thought through every detail of that night, but now it occurred to him that there was a speck around which his deductions had been built. A few words of forewarning that had given him a head start on the truth. He thought of a whispering, inhuman voice beneath a temple to a forgotten god in a city with no name. Remember Captain Lockery. He had focused purely on wondering how the ghoul had even known of the captain and that Cabal was acquainted with him. He had concluded that the ghoul's unnerving ability to go almost anywhere in any wind that amused them had been the cause of it, and that the ghoul was merely using the captain as an example of their wide-spanning intelligence and as a warning to be careful. Now that he paused to consider his memories of the ensuing ratiocinations, however, he realized that the unusual nature of the captain's leg had flickered through his mind. This, truly, had been the seed from which his deductions pertaining to the true nature of the mysterious swamp killer had sprung. The moment he had clapped eyes upon the evidence of Hercusides' exercises in arcane woodwork. This was a disturbing revelation in itself, and Cabal hushed Cord's simmering outrage with an impatient flutter of his fingers and a pneumatic of the type used for shooing off cats. Cabal needed to think, and he didn't need a histrionic solicitor distracting him while he did it. The truly disturbing element, however, was the nature of the hint. It had been cryptic to the point of abstruseness, and not a reasonable bet for a hint for most people. For Cabal and Cabal's thought processes, however, it had been precise and exact. How could some cadaver chewer have known that, unless, and he did not enjoy the thought, that the ghoul had not been a ghoul at all? Nyarlathotep was famously had 1,000 avatars, 1,000 faces to present, 1,000 masks to wear. This was only a figurative figure. However, Nyarlathotep in reality had far, far more. It did not stretch credibility in the slightest to suggest that the ghoul was one of them. If anyone could gauge a clue with such terrifying meticulousness, surely it had to be a god. Once one accepted in principle that their expedition was being protected by the crawling chaos, one of Nyarlathotep's many names, along with others such as the Black Pharaoh, Atu, the Grey Man, Loki, the Child of Eyes, the Bloated Woman, Anansi, the Dweller in Darkness, the Smiling Killer, Tezcatlipoca, and Dave in accounts. Abandoning it became problematical. Nyarlathotep might just shrug and leave them to it, or he might take offense and then revenge. Given that Nyarlathotep's revenge would likely be biblical in scale, Dadaist in commission, and cruel enough to make Desaad wince, not offending the god seemed very sensible. Cabal had many faults, several of which were also capital crimes, but he was in no ways indecisive. He shouldered the baldric to which his Gladstone was attached and started walking again. "Come along," he said. "I am not abandoning our quest, and therefore will not be finding a reciprocal gateway for the silver key. Without it, you were trapped here, Herr Cord, so I suggest you have little option but to accompany us." Cord was furious, but still he did not reach for his sword. "Don't I have any say in the matter?" Cabal stopped to look at him. "You have no say, but perhaps you do have a choice. Come or stay." He considered. "Yes, that covers all the possibilities." Cabal made to start walking again. "One day, Cabal, you will have your comeuppance." Is comeuppance some mealy-mouthed way of saying die? One day I shall die, yes, and given my profession, it will likely be sooner than later. But it would also likely be random and stupid and pointless. It is to war against the very irreversibility of such deaths that I do what I do. In all your days as a solicitor, Herr Cord, I doubt you ever once pressed the war against death with a minute of your time or an iota of your energy. In real humanitarian terms, your campaign against the phobic animus is the most selfless and noble thing you have ever done or ever will do. Do not miss your chance to be useful. If the logic convinced him, he did not nod. If the sentiments mollified him, he did not smile, but nonetheless, Cord followed, and the remaining 75% of the great phobic animus hunt walked on. Just over 2 weeks later, Cord died. It was random and stupid and pointless. The icy atmosphere within the party had thawed a little, at least on Cord's part. Cabal was capable of only glacial coldness and incandescent fury, convivial warmness as well beyond him as except in exercise and play acting. They had made good progress to the Carthian hills, and the ease of their passage via the kindness of passing caravans, both commercial and military, had given them the easiest leg of their adventures to date. They had bought supplies at cost from the rearguard baggage wagons of the column of Huskarlar, accompanying a king on royal progress around his lands before saying their goodbyes and climbing into the hills. The Carthian hills were painfully bucolic and picturesque, as if planned by John Constable. Every view was striking, every weather condition heart-stopping, the light never anything less than blooming. It was like walking through an art gallery that contained only one piece, but one that surrounded the viewer and altered from one moment to the next, from one masterpiece to the next. Quiescence, like a dormant volcano fondly remembering its last pyroclastic flow in which it had buried several hundred people, and now rather looking forward to its next. There were farms and orchards in the hills, and the people were friendly, refusing as often as not to take payment for the food they gave the travelers. Bosie was able to shake off the recent horrors they had witnessed as easily as a young child might, and took to chatting to Cord, or to himself, or to Cabal, which was much the same as chattering to himself. Cord bore the empty conversation well, ignoring much of it, and responding briefly and thoughtfully when the subject touched upon something that interested him. They did not speak of Shadrach. He was gone, and they did not care to consider how that had happened, or the consequences in the waking world when they returned. It would indeed have been easier if only his spirit had entered the dreamlands, for then his body would have simply died in its sleep, and there would have been a coroner's report of natural causes. Explaining a disappearance would probably turn out to be trickier. Instead, they liked to consider what the world would be like when the phobic animus was finally destroyed. Strangely, despite all their preparations beforehand, they had never truly been examined the actual results of a successful expedition in anything but the vaguest terms of a golden future. Now they applied themselves to it, they were pleased and somewhat relieved that they could perceive no deleterious ramifications. Well, almost none. "Nobody will care to read ghost stories again," said Bosie as they walked. "Perhaps just for reasons of literary enjoyment, but certainly not to get the shivers, because no one will believe in ghosts anymore." "That," said Cabal in one of his rare utterances, "would be foolish. One should be cautious of ghosts, for they certainly exist." He flexed his shoulder and winced slightly as he said it. Typically, he would not expand upon the subject, having dropped such a boulder into the pool of their conversation, so Cord and Bosie had to content themselves with telling one another ghost stories, both true and fictional. Cabal sniffed disdainfully during some of these tales, and not during others, by which standard they came to understand which were most likely, given their taciturn companions' experiences. By this method, they amused themselves on the tops of the Carthian hills. The view from up there with the land ahead was less salubrious than that of the land behind. Off in the distance, the rolling landscape grew less marked, and the color drained from it by degrees, until the verdant hills gave way to the pale brown sand dunes of the Cuparnombo Desert. Nor was the shade of brown the usual golden brown of Earth's more scenic deserts, but rather the bland light brown of cold café au lait, a tired, sad color, too depressing even for hospital walls. All three men looked at it, and all three drew long breaths that they allowed to sigh out of them as if they were deflating. Why the founders of Golthoth had decided to build their city in such a vile environment when the beautiful Carthian hills were so close was a mystery for the ages. Perhaps the land had been different then. Perhaps the Carthian hills had belonged to some enemy. Perhaps the Golthothians really, really liked nondescript brown sand. Whatever the case, there was a strong sense that their pleasant interlude was drawing to a close, so they settled down to have possibly their last meal without sand in it for a while. They opened their jars and unwrapped their linen parcels, made a picnic of sorts upon the grassy swath, and chatted about this and that as they ignored the brown expanse and ate their bread, cheese, and salted meat. They had just been discussing the careers that would abruptly wither away once fear was removed, fortune-telling, several branches of insurance sales, and a large part of the stock exchange, the latter principally compromised to fiscal pirates on a monetary sea kept profitably choppy by groundless panic and thick-pated optimism. Cabal asked if there was an equivalent form of the phobic animus that encouraged such wide-eyed hopefulness, and if so, would be they hunting this cosmic Pollyanna next? When Cord noticed that the slice of meat he had just that moment arranged upon a cob of bread was no longer there. After some undignified glaring in all directions, his eyes settled upon a young cat, barely more than a kitten, that was padding away as swiftly as it might with a large slice of stolen meat in its mouth. It withdrew to what it believed to a safe distance some 20 feet away and started tearing morsels from its booty, all the while keeping a watchful eye upon the three men in case they couldn't resist the desire to recover their food, grass-stained and cat-drool-coated as it was. "Well, I never," said Cord in righteous anger. But Cabal just made a soft bark of amusement in his throat, and Bosie laughed out loud. Cord was suddenly aware that the only beings in that world, or any of its immediate neighbors, that gave a fig for the fate of his sandwich filling were himself and the cat that had stolen it. He smiled and laughed a little forcedly, for inside he seethed with resentment at the animal. "What sort of cat is that?" asked Bosie, gesturing at it with a meat sandwich that Cord couldn't help but notice was unsullied by cats. "What do they call those? It's a brindle, isn't it?" "Brindle," said Cabal slowly, as if Bosie had said something thoughtlessly hurtful, "is a patterning. A brindled cat is a tortoiseshell." He sat watching the cat through narrowed eyes, a faint sense of disquiet growing within him. How far from Ulthar are we? He wondered. "Well, whatever type of cat it is," said Cord with faux joviality, "it's a little rascal." So saying, he took up a small stone and shied it in the general direction of the cat. When Cabal saw what he was about, he started to call a warning, but it was already too late. The stone was little more than a largest piece of gravel, and it was thrown without any great force. It should have described a leisurely parabola and bounced upon the grass near the cat, probably startling it. The stone did few of those things. With the horrible inevitability of nightmare, it left Cord's hand like a bullet from a slingshot, spinning rapidly as it went, arced sideways, and hit the cat hard in the head. Even from where they sat, the harsh crack of bone was sickeningly distinct. The cat fell to one side, shaking violently in spasm. Cord leaped to his feet and ran to it, but it was already still and dead by the time he got there. A man dressed as a great fighting general, he stood over the pathetic little form, put his hand to his mouth, and gazed in horror at the blood, the exposed brain, and the split eyeball. The cat looked more or less as if it had been shot than hit by a casually tossed stone. "Is it dead?" he heard Cabal say, in clear, neutral tones behind him. "I didn't mean to. How is that possible?" Cord simply couldn't take in how bizarre the sequence of events was. "I barely even. It makes no sense." Cabal was not interested. "Gather up your things immediately," he instructed. "We must be on our way before they find out." What? Cord looked uncomprehendingly at Cabal. What are you talking about, man? Before who finds out? The cats! Naturally! Cabal was already striding past him, heading westwards in the direction of the desert. Cats, Mr. Cabal? Bosie was having difficulty in raising his voice to be heard through a mouthful of sandwich. The cat's owners, you mean? I mean what I say, and I am in deadly earnest. There are plenty of things to be rationally afraid of in the Dreamlands, and not all of them are as overt in their threat as Womps. Based on Cabal's usual sang-froid, if he decided that killing a cat, even accidentally, was cause for rapid decampment, that was sufficient motivation for Cord and Bosie, who decided to hold their questions for later, quickly gathered up their belongings, and headed westwards too. When they caught up with Cabal, his first words were, "In the shade of the ivy on the wall to the left is a cat. We're discovered already. Our only hope is to reach the desert and hope that their notorious laziness and dislike of discomfort prevents them from following." Cord risked a sideways glance and saw that there was indeed the tumble-down remains of an old farm wall, upon which grew a generous dangling of ivy. Behind it he saw the glint of green eyes, and felt a strangely alien antipathy projected at him that did not make him think of tangled knitting and hairballs. He shuddered and quickened his pace. "What is this?" he asked Cabal. "They're just cats. How is it that they're dangerous?" "Because they are not just cats," said Cabal, now starting to break a sweat as he, too, lengthened his step. "These are the Dreamlands, and what is here is the stuff of dream. Cats, as any rational person knows, are solitary, opportunistic, ambush predators, much like spiders, but with fewer legs and a better fan club. They are, by and large, stupid animals, the cleverest of the species being about on par with an average dog. I am no great admirer of dogs either, I should add. My observations, while admittedly casual, are at least, therefore, objective. Cats, however, appeal to the anthropomorphizing aspects of the human psyche like no other. They are credited with intelligence, cunning, and an indefinable sophistication that, when regarded in light of their actual behavioral mores, will be observed to be pure phantasms. It is the deep belief, however, and that is where our danger lies, for the ridiculously inflated beliefs of generations of delusional cat devotees, and I use the term advisedly, are made concrete in the Dreamlands. Here they truly are intelligent, cunning, sophisticated, and capable of the most exquisite malevolence, just as the dreamers who unwittingly weave them would want them to be. You have killed one of their number, and among far too many people that is a capital offense, and so it is here." Soon the cats did not trouble to hide themselves, but sat erect like statues by the way, only their eyes moving as the three men hurried past. Then they rose and trotted along in a growing pack behind them, their tails low and twitching with anger. There was no time to catch their breath and take stock. The horde of idealized kittery in their wake grew in numbers and in threat at every moment. It had long since ceased to be just a bunch of cats. Now it was a furred stream that swept after them, an avalanche of claws awaiting the signal. It was Cord who gave it to them. His evident panic increased with every step, every new recruit to the pursuing army, and his desperation grew with it. He was offered no comfort by his companions. Cabal was silent and focused, purely on reaching the desert where the cats might desist. If he knew anything, it was that he loathed the thought of his last moments consisting of being swamped by an overindulged bunch of goldfish bothers like their persecutors. Bosie said nothing, but hurried along in a state of confusion, blinking furiously. Then panic froze into helplessness and a desire for some sort of resolution right at that very minute, and Cord stopped, spun on his heel, drew his sword, and bellowed, "Come on then, you damn flea bags!" He was probably expecting a moment of indecision on the part of the cats, a beat before they were face down or flew at him all claws and spitting, but they did neither. They did not stop when he turned, but continued to flow across the ground. He had barely time to cry his challenge when they were flowing over him too. He was surprised. He did not call out or scream as he became coated in cats. He struggled, but soon enough he could not see or hear anything. His hands flailed and his sword fell. Bosie said, "Oh," and went to help him, but Cabal caught his arm and said, "If you hurt even a hair on one of their smug little heads, they will kill you too." "But Mr. Cord isn't dead," he cried. Cabal just held his arm tightly and watched as Cord fell, and the boiling, purring pool of fur where he had stood smoothed out and became indistinguishable individuals again, then poured off in all directions as if they had appointments elsewhere. When they had gone, Cabal finally let go of Bosie's arm. "Now he is," said Cabal. There was little left, just an abandoned sword, a few scraps of torn cuir bouilly, and some tumbled pieces of equipment. Cabal watched a kitten, a few yards away, dragging off a finger bone, the joint gripped fiercely in its adorable little blood-smeared mouth. And then there were two, Herr Bosie. And that's what you do about cats. And that was the end of chapter 12. And if you were looking for the page number, it's 244 in my book. I would just feed the cats. Just feed the cats. I would just feed them. I'd be like, "Oh, kitty," and then I'd feed it. Who knows what would happen if you fed it? Though, you know, I feel like that would also be a bad decision in the reverse. But they are based on a Lovecraft story that I'm also interested in reading to you. But when he said, "How far are we from Ulthar?" that is a direct reference to a Lovecraft story that has a lot of cats in it. But Ulthar is a fictional place in one of Lovecraft's stories. But in that, I believe the cats are good. Like, the cats aren't bad necessarily. Just very supernaturally aware. A little bit creepy, but in a good way. Isn't that right, Pawn? No cats were harmed in this production. Kitten, Pawn, she's sleeping now. I can't wake her up. She's a heavy sleeper. But yeah, I feel like also feeding the cats might be a bad decision. Maybe not. Maybe it would be a great decision. Maybe I would have an army of cats. Who knows? But there are some ways where I was like, that might work. And then other ways where I'm like, that might be bad. Maybe just avoid the cats. At least Dreamland's cats. I'm intent on avoiding everything in the Dreamlands, I would say. Aw, Lucy's here. Yes, tell Lucy I love her. I love that cat. I love all your cats. I like it when you send me links to your cats. I do watch them. I watch all the cats. But that is the cats. I like it at the beginning. He's like, "What's your plan for cats?" And they're like, "What?" And he's like, "The plan for cats." And he's like, "Cats?" And he's like, "Yeah, the plan. What's the plan for cats?" He's like, "Well, that depends on your plan for cats." And they never got around to making a plan for cats. And then they ended up having a cat problem. And it's all because Cord's an asshat. But if he just hadn't done anything, I feel like they would have been fine, right? But I also feel like feeding them would be a bad decision. Okay, because picture this. Here's my rationale. You feed a cat. Keep in mind you have a limited amount of resources. Okay? We are already very well aware that they will eat a man. They just ate a man. 1, you feed a cat. Deliberately. The cat is at least benevolent and accepting of you, right? In this scenario. It runs off. It brings more cats. You feed all of them. You run out of food. Or you go to sleep. The cats surround the camp. They eat all your food, and when they run out of food, do they leave you or eat you? Because normal cats, no question, you'd be fine. Dreamland's cats? I wouldn't fall asleep. Because we already know cats will eat you in real life. If you die, if you're alive or sleeping, they're not going to do anything to you. But if you're dead, and these cats are not above murder, easily kill a man. They just easily killed a man. I wouldn't risk it. Well, yeah, but all of the dogs would be like Sirius Black from Harry Potter. Like, you know they would. They're all churchyard dogs. Or like dog-wolf hybrids. Dreamland's dogs. Dreamland dogs. Luckily, there's no dogs in the story. Thank God. But there is no dog general. There's just cats, an army of cats. There is no dogs in the story. But I feel like if there were Dreamland's dogs, they would all be omen dogs. You know what I mean? It wouldn't just be like, I'm a dog, you know? But almost everything, picture it like every fantasy trope about everything and every populace, every race, and every animal converged into a singular consciousness mixed with Australia. Yes, okay, everything is designed to kill you there. This isn't just like normally like, I'm going to go on an adventure. No, you're going to die. This is Australia. They aren't normal dogs. They're kangaroo dogs. They're going to kick you they're going to kick you straight in the bowels and you're going to go down. Like there's not going to be any normal dog or normal cat. Those cats aren't normal. Cats aren't normal. But based on not dogs, dog folklore. Let's put it that way. Dog folklore. It stands to reason they aren't going to be normal dogs. They're not going to be all super happy to see you. They're just going to be there possessed by the dead to tell you that danger is coming. Like, none of them are going to be normal dogs. There are no normal animals. Not mini Australia, actual Australia. Florida doesn't count. I mean, spider ant baby things? Come on, that's not Florida. That's only in Australia. They're going to have giant banana spiders everywhere. Size of your face. The spiders have pets. The spiders have pets there. This isn't even just Australia. This is Australia on crack. Yeah, the spiders there have their own pets. We're not getting normal dogs, guys. We're getting like hyena dogs. Hellhounds, yes. Whoever said hellhounds, yes. Like that. Like that. We're not getting normal animals. We're not getting pets here, guys. We're getting we're getting demons in animal bodies. That's what we're getting. Case in point, cats. The cats. There is no rational explanation for those cats. Cats do not organize like that. Cats do not do that. I could scare the fuck out of Pond right now. And she wouldn't bite my face off. She's not going to rip my finger joints out. She's just going to be mildly annoyed and scratch me, maybe. I doubt that, actually. She doesn't really scratch me. She only scratches everybody else. Thank you for the present. I don't know if you could reasonably expect to rule over cats without a steady supply of meat. Good thought process. I wonder how the fishing industry is. Never mind. Whatever. I'm not sinking down a rabbit hole over positing over the economic fishery. The economics. Okay, I don't want to be a fisherman. No, we're not doing that. Your fallen foes are technically meat. Yeah, I could just slaughter a bunch of people. Wait. Reinforcing the idea that everyone is expendable, which I have a problem with already. Quit reinforcing the worst aspects of myself. Who are you? Stop it. I know who you are. I don't know if catnip would work. That would work on regular cats. But Dreamland's cats? You're still thinking with the characteristics of normal cats. You're still thinking of regular cats. Not Dreamland's cats. Not the expectation of cats. This is the same as, like, think of these cats as the rendition of witches' familiars. They aren't normal cats. They can hear and comprehend, and they have the processing power of humans in cats' bodies. Murderous humans in cats' bodies. They are regular cats. They're not just like, oh, give them catnip, they'll be fine. No, these aren't regular cats. You're still thinking with the wrong characterization of cats. You're still thinking about your cat and every cat you've met because you know how actual cats act. We're talking about the expectations of people who view cats as demons. Different cats. I think I would just avoid the cats. These would be the only cats that I would ever avoid, but I would avoid these cats. That would be my plan. Swiftblood, you don't have me convinced on anything. I'm closer and closer to thinking you're a liability. Anybody else have anything to add? Demon cats would theoretically accept a deal. It depends on the deal. What do you have that they would want? Because keep in mind, they're still cats. Other than meat, which you have a limited stock of. What would you have on hand to deal with cats non-violently for an extended period of time? Theoretically. You don't have like a magic bag of holding, I want to add. Like, there's just not like an unlimited source of meat bag. Forget that I said the word meat bag. Where are you getting where are you getting that many souls, Crimson? What did I just say about an unlimited bag of holding? Where are you keeping these souls? Okay, new question, because this posits into it. Okay, this would theoretically answer a lot of questions over what you guys are supposing as your guys' capabilities in the Dreamlands based on. If you were to appear in the Dreamlands, like Bozy is a magistrate, Cord is obviously like a knight or a pirate or whatever the fuck, and Shadrock was a merchant, what would your identity be if you were to manifest in the Dreamlands? In this universe, yeah, surprisingly, he did already give all those to Satan, so he didn't technically have them to trade. Archaeologist in the Dreamlands? That sounds like a nightmare. You're really pushing it. What would you find in a historical rendition of dreams that would be theoretically extinct? Yeah, there are all sorts of abandoned cities. But one, it's almost constantly changing. So even the history isn't intact, right? Because it's made of the collective consciousness of dreamers. So say there's like a shift in pop culture, or then even the historical basis for it isn't even set. That would be a nightmare. An actual nightmare. I mean, I guess you'd always have a job in that case, right? And so you would constantly be in demand of some kind. Because even then the history would not be set. Be like a medic or something. Like a cleric. Or like a healer. Shaman. Zoologist. I don't know how well you do as a zoologist in the Dreamlands. That would be terrifying. All the animals there are out to kill you. It'd be like having nothing but like a farm of llamas and emus, only angrier and more equipped to kill you. And with probably a lot more intelligence, which would be terrible. Veterinarian? I don't even know if they have a call for that profession. Sure. I'm not sure the cats would need a vet. It sounds like they just die immediately. That cat went down one pebble. Level 1 vault dweller. Y'all are being too modern with it. They sound like very modern professions. I could see you, Dad. I could see you like raising the zebras. You know what I mean? You'd be like a zebra merchant. Herbalist? That sounds not bad. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. You open up shop. Granted, as long as alien slave traders don't come through town, you'd have a pretty good life, maybe. I have nothing though. I'll find a way to engineer things. Oh man, like just a animal necromancer exclusively for animals. That would be funny. That'd be fun. Pet cemetery. Okay, nope. Stephen King already did that. Although that's it's been so long, that's like such a collective consciousness now, I bet that would be an option. Animal necromancer? Necropathologist? Necrothologist? I don't know. It depends on if you sold your soul to Satan or not to actually become a necromancer. Animal necromancer. Exclusively to animals. I am in charge of the cats. Dream cat pet cemetery. You sell them like a used car salesman. Okay, yeah, that I could see you doing that. I could see you doing that. Sold it to Cat Satan. There's exclusively a Cat Satan. Pawn, you want to cosplay Cat Satan? Pawn. Oh, big stretch. I woke her up from her nap. She's really upset. Enjoy dinner. Glad you could show up. I'll see you next Tuesday. Oh, thank you for the pride flag. Yeah. All the animals from Jumanji, more intelligent. Be terrifying. Man, that'd be the worst, right? I'm sure they have like that giant plant thing in the beginning of Jumanji. Halloween costume idea for Pond. She'll hate it. She hates wearing anything. I don't like. I even feel guilty trying to put her in. I made a hat for her one time. She got real mad. I don't normally try and put anything on her because she gets angry. No. Yes. Oh no. Used zebra salesman. Solid merchant class. Good. Do you mean DJI? What? I'm sorry, Swiftblood. Did you have a stroke on your keyboard? What happened? DJI? Is that what you mean? Because that just sounds like a name. You can always just change your name if you wanted to. I don't... I think I get it. I think I know what you're getting at. Use zebra salesman is now my new favorite bit. You want to do a fake zebra commercial? No. Once because I have some stuff already filmed, but now my new favorite bit is used zebra salesman. And I can't. Oh man, only part of my content is like jokes. But it's the only successful bit, I imagine, and so now I'm like really in it for used zebra salesman. So we need like we need a good fake zebra commercial. Oh no. No. I may regret this later, but right now I'm loving it. Just signing myself up for more bullshit. We gotta get you like a good costume for it. And so we gotta find a zebra. I don't know where we're gonna find a zebra in this economy, but we're gonna try. So, or we can try and green screen a zebra. Oh no. Oh man, this is gonna be so ridiculous. A Beetlejuice costume. With the stripe, it's the stripes, right? Oh, I got a better idea. No, I don't want to spoil it. I'll ask you about it later. I'm still buying the stuff for the rest of the cosplay, so like we gotta. There's stuff I gotta get. Hopefully, because I'm trying to get. There's a lot that goes into it. I need. This is gonna. Well, it's all on my wish list. Actually, I need the stuff on my wish list. And I'm hoping to get some of it with the paycheck. I just paid rent, so I have nothing right now. I'm hoping to get some of it with the next paycheck that I get. But I need contacts. I need contacts. I need a spine. There's a reason. It's gonna make sense when you see it. I gotta wax a spine. It's on the wish list. All of it's on the wish list. Okay, we're getting stuff for the wish list. The wish list is in my bio. You can take a look there. There's also a link for a Ko-fi account where you can donate money so I can get stuff that's not on Amazon that I can't get on Amazon because I don't have it on Amazon. Among those are the contacts. Yeah, I need a couple ones. One, my blue contacts have like a tear in them. I can technically still wear them, but they are very irritating. And I need prescription or else I can't see to film. I've tried to film in contacts that aren't prescription before. It goes very badly and none of it makes any sense. And I have to reshoot the same shot like 35 times. It just doesn't work. I'm looking at a couple of different green ones for Nyarlathotep. And I'm looking at either like the cat's eye slit ones in green, and I need the white ones, like the straight up white ones that make you look like a zombie. I need those, and I need some red ones. There's a couple different ones that are in the lineup, 4 different things. So if you want to donate, you can go to the coffee account and the link, the Ko-fi, whatever. You know what it is. You'll see it. And the Amazon wish list, which I've restocked with some things. I'm still not done with it. I had to get on the phone with like customer support with PayPal today. It was really dumb. My account, the email for my account, they wanted me to set up like a business account or whatever. So I set up the business account. But then it wouldn't let me complete it, and because I had to have like an income level, and I was like, I'm not making anything off this. I'm actively losing money doing this. I don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, I need to set it up with a personal account, but it wouldn't let me set it up as a personal account. It would only give me the option to select business. So then I had to try and swap it from a business to a personal after I made it. But it doesn't let you do that on anything. You have to like call. So I had to call customer support and was like, can you just change this? It was an ordeal. So I didn't get to do it until like right before the live. Yes, it's the same prescription in both eyes. No, it is not on the wish list because you cannot get, you can't get prescription contacts like that on Amazon, like good ones. You can't get comfortable ones or ones that work reasonably well. I normally get mine from Unique, so they have, the wait time is a little long, but they work. They're not irritating, and they're my correct prescription, which is why I don't go through Amazon. I've gotten a pair off Amazon before. A lot of them don't come in prescription, if they even have the ones that you want. And a lot of the time, if they do say they come in prescription, they lie, or they get the order wrong, and then Amazon doesn't help you, and you have to contact the vendor, and then the vendor pretends like they don't know who you are. Anyway, it's a whole big thing. So I don't get them off Amazon. I will probably never try and get contacts off Amazon again. It's a whole ordeal, and I hate it. But you can donate to the Ko-fi if you want to help me get the contacts. Everything else is on the wish list so far with what I'm trying to do for Johannes. I do have some other props that I haven't put on there, but I also am going to try and make some things. So if you see some weird shit on my wish list, it's probably stuff I'm gonna make with the shit. And the spine, I know it's very questionable. There's a spine on my wish list. I promise it's relevant. It's not just so I can have a replica spine model. I need its... We're gonna mold the spine. Anyway, no. I cannot accurately explain this to you without it sounding crazy. I need the spine. I need almost in the immediate. There's a green wig that I really need. There is, the green wig I really need. The spine I really need. The wax I really need. And what else is on there that I really need, like, pronto? There's something else I'm forgetting. And I need the zombie contacts and the green contacts. And I was going to try and get all that with my next paycheck. I know I'm probably not going to be able to afford all of it. Some of it, but not all of it. But, yeah... that is for cosplay. I know it seems like I just want a spine. I'm going to use it. The original... Okay, so Sarah's going to make me spine pieces, but that's for something else. And they can't be... Okay. They have to be as close to an anatomical spine as possible, which is why I have the spine on the wish list. They can't be really rough. Which 3D printing, if you've never 3D printed something before, it has like lines and like rough edges. It can't have that. Because it's going to go in/on my person. And I need to be able to put wax around it. Wax and makeup. And I don't want to do that with the pieces that he's going to make, because they're going to have to be painted. They can't be in like crazy colors. It has to be, and we don't have like a flesh tone. He tried to get like a flesh tone one time. It looked orange. So they don't really make it in like a flesh tone. And I can't really have it being like a really dark color, because I got to be able to paint it and put makeup on it. There's a reason for this. There are reasons. But that's why the spine's on there. I'm going to take the spine apart. And it has to be shaped like a spine. It can't just be like, look like a spine. It has to have the ridges. It has to have the vertebra. It's going to protrude out of me. It's going to be very weird. Also, very fun. Hopefully, I'm going to have to get somebody to paint my back. It's a whole thing. I've had a whole thought process for months. And I've had no time to implement it. And no time to get stuff together, because I've had personal issues that I've been dealing with in my house and my personal life. And it's just kind of put a damper on a lot of plans. And I wanted to have this started much earlier. But financially and personally, I've had a few setbacks. But there's a reason for the spine. I swear I don't just want bones. I know you know how I feel about bones. I love bones. I haven't taken this off since I got it, by the way. I don't just want bones. I know it seems that way. It's not. It's for the content. I wouldn't ask you to get me anything that wasn't for the content. It's not. None of the anything on my wish list is for personal use. It is all for cosplay. Most of it is for Johannes. I appreciate that, Dad. I appreciate everybody who's helped me make a lot of stuff happen. And for encouraging my coffee addiction. I think all of you guys are great. But if you can help out, awesome. If you can't, don't worry about it. I'll eventually get it done anyway, just because I want to do it. I want to make content. I like doing it. I have a whole lot of fun stuff planned. I have a whole lot of fun stuff filmed. I have more stuff that I plan to film. It's going to be hours and hours of content. If you can do it, great. If you can't, don't worry about it and don't stress about it. But to everybody that can, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I'm going to make a whole bunch of shit. Am I going to wear a spine for unknown and unnecessary reasons? Absolutely I am. And it's going to be real fun. I'm going to have a fun time. And I hope you all have fun. And I hope you all like what I made. I'm kind of nervous about it because I feel like I've been building it up a lot. But I put a lot of effort into this, guys. I've learned to do a lot with a little, and how to edit stuff and stuff that I never really thought I would be capable of doing and am doing anyway. And I just hope y'all like it. For as much as you guys have like stayed with me through this entire roller coaster of a series, I really hope it lives up to your expectations and you like it, because I'm having a real fun time making it. But I suppose we'll see. If you hate it, feel free to let me know after I start posting it. But I have big plans. I actually did, I've been trying to perfect my Nyarlathotep makeup for a while. And I went in to work the other day with it on, and I had sunglasses on for like the first hour hour, 2 hours of my shift, and then I came in with it off. And one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, hey, you okay?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "That's not your normal look." And I was like, no, it's not. And he was like, "You going through something?" And I was like, "Little bit, yeah." And he was like, "You want to talk about it?" And I was like, "Not with you." So that was fun. Opinion on moths. Moths are adorable and I love them. We found a moth outside work the other day too, and we were like, we got like a little tray and put it on there, and we were like trying to help the moth because he was like not moving, and we were like, we gotta help this moth. So just being real weird and trying to help this poor lone moth out into the night. It was a big old moth too. It was like an inch long and like had these big orange wings, and we were like, "Oh, he's a big boy." I think my coworker named him, but I can't remember what she named him. But yeah, I have a bunch of stuff planned, and it would be really cool if you joined me for a lot of it, or at least some of it. And especially the people that have been here from the beginning and have read all 3 books with me. It's been really great going on this journey with you. It's one of my favorite books and my favorite series of all time. And it really means a lot to me that so many people enjoy it and want to contribute and see the cosplay. It really means a whole lot to me. I'm continuously grateful and thankful for all you guys do and your unending support, and even when it's just like emotional support, you guys have been there from all of it, and it's been really great. And knowing that someone else is gonna know and appreciate and watch, and even if it's only like 12 of you, you know what I mean? I don't care if it's only like you 17 people in the unmentionable place. I don't care, because you all are my only audience. Like, it's the only audience I'm catering to. Do I know it's a huge waste of time? Yeah. Do I know I could just continue making bullshit content as Shinzo for ages and people would still watch because it's a big source of media and a lot of people have watched it and a lot of people are into it, and I would get hundreds upon hundreds of views if I stuck with it? Yeah. Do I care? No, I don't. I want to do what I want to do. Nobody ever wants to do what I want to do, except for you 17 people. So that's it. I'm really just making it for you guys and for me, because it's fun. But am I well aware that Johannes doesn't have like any audience apart from you guys? Absolutely. Do I care if my content and my page kind of gets buried in the ether? No. Because I know when I post something, you guys will see it, and that's all I really care about, is that you guys see it. I guess what I'm getting at is thank you. It's been really cool. I didn't think this would be a thing. Oh, thank you for the rose. Thank you, Rose, for the rose. I kind of thought maybe people would stick with it for a little while and then they would drop off and like no one would be into it. You know, I kind of thought it would be like a really fleeting thing. and that it would taper off if it went anywhere in the first place. And we've been through the majority of the series. Not only, thank you for the present, not only did it go further than I thought it would, we are now over halfway through the entire series. You realize this? We are almost smack in the middle of the entire series. Not just the third book. The entire series. It's more than half over. 50%. We have 2 other books. A couple more short stories. And then you all are going to have the biggest book drop of all time. You're just going to drop immediately, because that's what happened to me. I was like, I don't want to read anything ever again. I don't know what to do with myself. And I sunk into a really weird book slump right afterward, and I could not dig myself out of that for a year. So prepare for the drop, but know that you'll have content after it's over. So you'll have something to look forward to. Daylight saving time throws everyone off. It's an abomination. I'm glad you got to listen to some of it, though. Is it? Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of awesome when you think about it. Because anytime I have a book drop, I stop reading. I'll just stop. And then I won't want to read anything. And it has to be really good or come very highly recommended by someone I trust for me to even attempt it. And if it doesn't catch my interest within the first couple chapters, a lot of the time I'm like, I hate this, I can't do it, no. And I'll stop. So if this is breaking a 3-year book slump for you, that's kind of awesome. That I have a lot of pride in that, actually. I consider that an accomplishment. You made your whole family? Oh no! Is this just playing with your whole family there? That's freaking me out. Oh. I have a whole lot of pride now that I know that I'm ending a big book slump for you. I'm glad I could bring it back. Hopefully our next choice will be just as good. And you'll have a fun time. That's kind of awesome. Because it takes a lot to get me out of a book slump. So if you've been in one for 3 years, kind of living for the fact that I broke in the streak. They're a little confused. Oh, I'm sure they are. Oh, well, there's YouTube with the other 2 books on it. If they want to know what's going on, or you can always purchase the book. It's the Johannes Cabal series. The first one is Necromancer, the second one is Detective, and the third one is The Fear Institute. And they're all by Jonathan Howard, and they're a really good read, and you should give them a shot. They're also available in audiobook if you don't want to listen to me tell it to you, which is completely understandable. You're watching me in cosplay? Wait, you've been watching me and I'm in cosplay, or you've been watching me and you're in cosplay? That raises an interesting question. Also, if you're in cosplay, which cosplay are you in? Smokey is thoroughly asleep. I have that effect on generally everyone. Everybody thinks my voice is so soothing, and I frequently put people to sleep, which I take as a compliment. I'm either very boring or very soothing, and I don't much care to know the difference. Oh, also, thank you for the finger hearts. You. And the likes. God, you guys gotta stop smashing that like button. sound like the opposite of Markiplier. If you want to not hit that that like button, definitely do not smash that like button at all. Quit hitting it. Seriously, that was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke. That's okay. You don't have to repeatedly hit it, you guys. Y'all are going to get carpal tunnel, and it's going to be my fault. And I'm going to feel morally responsible for your carpal tunnel since it starts at 6. Yeah, I have to update the YouTube. I lost a bunch of data on my phone for a while. I refound it. It was in a mysterious location that was not my photo gallery. And it was very confusing for a while. But I got it all under control. I got my data back. I got it. It's on there. So. And I replaced that audio that I couldn't get. Very sorry for the birds and that when I pipe music in the background. I hope it's both soothing and somewhat anxiety-inducing, which I think is a great combo. Not everybody agrees with me, but hey. Anyway, I uploaded the replacement audio, and I'm going to try and get, as long as the other lives aren't corrupted, it should be within the week. I was a server. It'll come from that. Well, good. I'm off the hook on the carpal tunnel front, you guys. Good to know. No, seriously. You don't have to smack that the entire time you're in here. Because some people are making it like a mission to do that. You don't have to do that. I don't really give a shit about the likes, other than the fact that you spend a lot of time doing them. The effort is noted, and I thank you, but you don't have to do that. Oh, hi Q. Okay. Well, we're just two bros in cosplay hanging out. If it's helping you focus, that I can understand. If it's helping you focus, great. If it's not, and you're just doing it out of sheer willpower, you can take a rest. You take some breaks, hydrate. All the Sims I play. Oh no. Also spite and stubbornness. Alright, you know what? I was fine with the keeps you focused argument. You didn't have to bring spite into it. I don't know what spite for what? Spite for me? Spite for me and the community we've cultivated? How dare you? No, I'm joking. God, 5.2. Jeez, you guys can cool it with that. I appreciate all that. Really? But you don't have to do that. I don't. See, okay. The like button. What it does is it generates traffic to your live. Thank you for the presents. It generates traffic to your live. The thing is, I'm not looking for traffic. I'm not really looking to boost my algorithm or my traffic. I'm cool with you guys. Because that's what it does. You're just, it's letting TikTok know that people like the content, and it's recommending it to other people who don't follow me and have no idea what we're doing. And to those people, respectfully, why are you here? You're going to have no idea what's going on. I feel very sorry for you. No. If you've been dragged to this show by a random family member that is dressed as a Haikyuu character, I just want you to know, you can definitely fall asleep. if my voice is soothing to you and you feel like it would better serve you to be unconscious, you can feel free to fall asleep. I won't be offended. And anybody who knows me knows I really like it when people fall asleep on me. It gives me the chance to escape. I do it to Noti all the time. I read books at them until they fall asleep, or I talk about John Wayne Gacy until they fall asleep, and then I pet their cat, and then I leave. I base all my friendships based on worth as to how likely they are to fall asleep on me at any given moment. And the likelihood is pretty high. I'm boring. I don't know if you heard. Oh yeah, it works too. Oh man. It does, yeah. It's worked several times. I've made Noti fall asleep like 3 times. The last 3 out of the 4 last times I've seen them, I've made them fall asleep on their couch. I pet their cat and I skedaddle. I don't say these things to be self-deprecating. I say them because I'm proud of it. What's my favorite animal? Cat. I like cats. I like this cat especially, don't I, Pond? Aren't you a good kitten? Yes, you are. You want to come say hi to your adoring public? Is that a no? Did that yawn mean no? You gonna lay back down on top of my black hoodie that clearly shows every hair follicle you leave on it? Cool. I think you need a new word then. Oh, I suppose so. I'll have to get those new disposable thesauruses I heard about and look one up, and I'll get back to you on that. It's Pond. Pond's asleep. Pond has been extraordinarily well behaved today. It's been nuts. She's been in here the entire live, and she hasn't, except for the very beginning, not head-butted this ring light one time. She's been very calmly laying down, almost entirely asleep through the entire thing. Occasionally, I pet her and she yawns and goes right back to sleep. She's being very well behaved. I don't think so. Her plotting face is different, and you know when she's plotting because she sits up here by my head and occasionally will try and eat my hair. But yeah, plan for cats. My plan for Pond normally consists of don't let her in here because she likes to run in here and then start like rubbing up against the ring light. Because she wants attention, she wants me to pet her. And if I pet her, occasionally she'll come up here, but she gets really enthralled with the wires hanging off of me. Because I have the mic attached up here. I have my phone plugged in so I don't lose power while I'm on the live. And I have the cord for the ring light all plugged into a power strip over in this general area. And she gets enthralled with the wires eventually, and then goes to eat the wires or headbutt the ring light stand, and then everything falls over. So generally I just close the door, but the door doesn't click closed all the way a lot of the time, and so she'll just headbutt her way through the door. And yeah, Dad was the door guardian last week. She'll just headbutt the door and come in here and then start doing it anyway. So even that plan doesn't entirely work out. But she's being very well behaved, and she's just sort of chilling. She's just sort of been chilling and laying down, being super sleepy. So it's kind of worked out. I enjoy having her here. Normally I don't get to. But I like spending time with my cat, and I like it when my cat lays on my feet, and it's really nice, but she doesn't always stay there. And I can't have her knocking over equipment the entire time. But it's working out very well this week. I hope she can do this again next week. If I can get her to calm down long enough to lay in here every single live, that would be awesome. She's my bestie. Aren't you, Pond? She's asleep. She has fallen back asleep. I would show you, but for some reason, my camera doesn't want to give me the option to flip the camera around anymore. Good Pond. I don't think she's plotting. She seems very unconscious. I think you're thinking of Dreamland's cats. They are plotting something. Pond is a normal cat and is therefore of moderate intelligence and is just very lazy. Plotting in the Dreamlands then. Got it. Okay. Good logic. In the Dreamlands, I'm sure Pond is a ruthless predator. Not right now, though. She's asleep right now in the waking world. She's a very good kitty. She's a very good kitty cat. Well, I have some things I need to accomplish tonight. One of which is getting some of these lives updated on the YouTubes. Which is in my TikTok description if you want to go there and listen to the rest of the story. If you liked this, we do it every week at Tuesdays at 8. So we're going to be back next Tuesday at 8 Central. So if you're in a different time zone, I don't know what time it is for you, but I'm on Central, so 8 p.m. Central. We do this every week. And next week, we're going to pick up with the Fear Institute. But if you've missed some, it'll give you time, a whole week in fact, to catch up on content if you want to know the rest of the story. Necromancer and Detective are both completely updated on the YouTube. I do have to upload the rest of Fear Institute, which I have not done yet, but I'm hoping to get done very soon. I am going to also dip in VC if you guys are going to be hanging out there. Because... yeah, one of which is joining us in VC. Yes, gonna be in VC. We have a couple things to talk about. I also have some information to look up. So, and also maybe bonus content in the VC. The Lovecraft, The Cats of Ulthar. Perhaps, if you would enjoy that. If you don't, if you have stuff to do, you don't have to do that. But, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or what the VC even is, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to use your deductive reasoning skills to figure it out, or whatever. But if you'd like to join us next time, you're not really gonna miss anything, because I don't do Johannes content anytime but Tuesdays. And if you do miss it, it'll be uploaded to the YouTube normally, eventually. I try to do upkeep on it, but I've kind of been slacking on it. Hopefully I get that done tonight. If I don't, it should be done later on this week. And, is there anything I'm missing? No, I don't think so. If there is, it obviously wasn't that important. Anyway, I will see you all shortly. I'm going to get some content uploaded, and then I'm going to join you in VC. And, yes. Is that to the bonus content idea? See it a lot of yeses. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. Well, I guess we have the answer. I'll join you with some Lovecraft bonus content in the VC, and We can what shirt am I wearing? Oh, the National Sarcastic Society shirt. Like we need your support. Yeah. Anyway, I will see you all next Tuesday at 8. Chill. Meeting adjourned. Yes, no, yes, no. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you.